Yo, 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 skunk fam and haters alike, since we know you'll be joining us every episode. This is another awesome interview with our buddy Migz, Jungle King 710 from Instagram. We've been trying to get this one lined up for a little bit, and we just want to kind of talk about some stuff we've already touched on, and then we also want to talk about his most recent harvest and what that was smelling and smoking like. And yeah, man, so thanks for joining us, everybody. And how you doing, Migz?
I'm doing great, bro. Great.
Thanks for coming on, Migz. You
absolutely.
came on Real Cannabis Talk, and I really enjoyed having you on as a guest. And I just thought have you back on Skunk Fam, give you more of a central position and take more of the show.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate you guys working with my schedule too, man. I was trying to get out here with you guys on Friday, and I just couldn't get it done. But thanks again for having me. Always a fun time. Love fucking talking shop with like-minded growers. I'm a bit of a loner when it comes to that, so a lot of things that I don't have access to talk to people about, just on some online shit. So it's always fucking, appreciated to hang out, guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it'd be good to come on regular, bro. We had Origin Cannabis on the other day, and Real Genetics, and all cool guys. And we were thinking about getting sort of like maybe a once a month group session going on. So
yeah,
good to come on that sometime.
I was just actually halfway through. I think it was it Real Genetics, Real Cannabis, the last just did. Great podcast as always, man. There's just so much information and knowledge gets dropped, and I like hearing everybody's backstories and just everything in general, man. It's such an intriguing thing to see where everybody comes from. You know, you're across seas, and all killer, no filler. I don't know exactly where you located at, man. I think you're here in the States too.
Yes, sir. I'm in the Midwest.
Perfect. Yeah, you're crushing it out there, man. Everything you got going on is just like, fuck. I open up Instagram, just like, all right, looking like flame.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that.
Yeah, your latest things you posted are beautiful. All killer, no filler. That grapefruit one, and yeah, super.
Yeah, that
nice.
one. That was the second run, and I'll be retiring that. Well, it is retired now. I processed it last night, but I did make seeds with it, so I'm stoked to see what those come out like. But yeah, that was the second
rubber mill. Yeah.
Yep. And that was the second re-veg, so I figured there's no sense in trying to drag it out to a third one.
Damn, how long was the re-veg this time around?
You mean how long did it take to come back?
Yeah.
Less than a month. So it was popping new leaves at like maybe 20, 21 days, 23 days, something like that.
Damn, I don't know if I'm fucking shit up or what, but I haven't had great success with re-vegs and shit like that. I do try from time to time, man, but I just haven't been able to get that process right. I do know that, you know, the longer in flower that you're in, when you try to re-veg, the longer it's going to take to re-veg. But
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like if you're 2 or 3, 4 weeks in, it take you 2, 3, 4 weeks to come out usually sometimes. But I did have a friend of mine up in Colorado that was really great at it. I just never really had the reason to do it, but I'm always trying to learn any kind of process just because you never know when you're going to need it.
Absolutely. And I feel like it comes in handy when you just didn't have the foresight to take a cut. You know, sometimes you don't know what to expect from a plant, you know, and especially with these, they were the first time I ran them. So I was just like, we'll see what's up. And plus at that time I had broken all my tents down and just wanted to use open space. But yeah, man, the re-veg was the way to go on that. And I'm glad I did it. And hopefully I got enough seeds to keep it around. But yeah, man.
Have you ever tried re-vegging, like if you took a cut off the fucking flower and just tried to re-veg the actual clone that's been flowered out? Does that even work?
I have taken a clone in flower and rooted it, but it did not start re-vegging yet. And by
I've taken like 6-week-old buds and re-vegged them.
What?
Yeah.
God. How long did that take?
Do what?
I've cut off fully budded branches at say 6 weeks.
Oh, I see what you're
and
saying.
Rooted those and re-vegged them, and it definitely was a lot quicker in 6 weeks or anything like that. It wasn't like the same amount of time as like how you just mentioned exactly. Makes it, I swear it come back quick, man, quick, like just like normal, 2-3 weeks or something, and it's like new growth coming back. And yeah,
so crazy how it starts busting branches out of the buds. I love watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I felt on my it's something similar like Blue Skies there. I took some clones off, I think week 5 or 6 also, fully budded and shit. And I'm just doing an easy cloning with the rest of them. And I'm just like, grow, motherfuckers, grow. And they just wouldn't.
I've done it with outdoor plants, sort of like right at the end of the season, in the last week of harvest time, basically. If I found something, I thought, oh fuck, I need that. I've actually, yeah, I've done the same thing, man.
Hey, that brings me to a good question. Something I've wondered about in the past that just popped in my head. Have you guys ever done any outdoor cloning?
Like taking cuts from outdoors or just trying to clone outdoors?
Trying to clone outside. Is that even a thing?
I haven't.
I've not done it, just like left it out to sort of nature, as it were. I've done it, you know, in a greenhouse.
Okay,
that
yeah.
kind of outdoor, yeah.
Well, I just, me personally, like, even when you at the best times of from wherever you're living in the States or in the world, I mean, you're probably going to get what, maybe 14, 15 hours of actual light. And, you know, it's just, for me, I don't see it going as fast as, you know, putting another 24 hours light, 18-hour lights or whatever. You get
Yeah,
that clone.
for sure.
But that's a good question, though. I mean, shit, if from a perspective, like you don't have any other access to something, I wonder how long that would take.
Like running into space issues and stuff. Like, man, I need to save this. I don't have anybody I can trust. What do I do? You know?
Yeah.
Because that's a huge thing, right? Like, especially with these like priceless genetics, it's like, you know, who can I trust to give a cut to hold it down for me? You know?
Going through that right now, bro. I don't got the space and I don't have the friends.
So,
and even if you do, it's like we don't know if they can grow it right, you know?
Yeah.
What have you been growing, Migz, for the benefit of the Skunk Fam audience who didn't see the Real Cannabis Talk episode? Maybe what have you been growing from Marginex, and you just harvested recently, right?
Yeah, I'm actually I've been pheno hunting for about 6 or 7 months now, and I've been perpetually cutting down every single month. So it's a mixture of yours and a mixture of some newer stuff, but realistically, nothing's really comparing to your growth rates or even the yield. I mean, I have different phenoms of some ice cream cake and some peanut butter breath crosses, and I reran them again just to see if I was fucking some shit up or not, but it just came out the same. I get one great pheno of the peanut butter breath cross that does fucking swell up and beautiful colors and what have you, but I got one, I don't like it. It looked kind of like rose petal buds or you know what I'm saying? Like just these small, not very vigorous growth, a shit ton of elongated stems, nothing that I can really sit there and say like, oh yeah, this is gonna be amazing. And then you already know you're gonna lose 60% of the weight once you dry and cure and shit. So I'm like, what am I gonna be left with this motherfucker? It's frosted, don't get me wrong, but that's only.
So that's something I've run into too, you know, like you said, the rose petal bud, sort of like how it's a little leafy and maybe the bud is in there, but it's just so compact and the leaves are sticking out so much. So that's just a genetic thing. It's not, because sometimes I wonder if I'm underfeeding or maybe it just didn't get what it needed at the right time, you know?
Yeah, and see, I have it literally right next. If you look at one of my last posts on Instagram, there's a purple and an orange, and these are the lowers and
Yeah, I've
stuff.
seen it.
That orange is coming off of Blue Sky stuff, and the purple is the actual nicer version of the peanut butter cut. But I didn't want to show the other one, the one right next to it, because it'd make that shit look ridiculous. You know, like they're just small, bro. They don't connect. I guess I'm just used to looking at the fucking spears and swords I've been getting out of the Blue Sky stuff, because everything connects. All the node spacings are great. They just keep going. They, you know, when you get enough node spacing, they'll connect to the next one, to the next one, to the next. Beautiful, huge cola. I'm not really getting that a lot with these newer genetics, and I think it just has to do a lot of these fucking crosses, man. They're just overdoing it, and I want to say
the Pheno Hunters, right?
Yeah, I'm always I always have a mixture of Pheno Hunters and the Boss packs and everything.
Okay, you got the Boss too, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta send you. I just took a video. I don't know if I sent it to All Killer or not, or another buddy of mine, but I just took a video of it this morning, and it's lights off or whatever. But the frost is fucking insane, bro. But to me, it's just like everything is thick, bro. Everything is exactly what I want in a fucking plant. You know, everybody can talk quality. To me, I feel quality no matter what. At least for me, anyways. it's going to be covered. It's I don't know what it is how it's happening or whatever, but it really, frost is not an issue for me. Terpenes is not an issue for me. I'm at a point where I just want to I'm growing great bud, but I want a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want these little shits because I'm gonna run through it. Realistically, when I'm really fucking smoking, I'll run through a fucking month, no problem. Absolutely, I'll run through a pound a month, and that's an expensive habit if you're not fucking doing it for yourself.
A pound a month, big toker, bro. What do you smoke cigars or something?
I my fave is these true hemp blunt wraps, bro. They're probably the best ones I've been able to find. But
I think I've had those, the flavored ones and stuff, or
yeah,
even just natural.
Yeah, I try to go with the natural. They have like a Russian cream and something else, but I always just like the natural because I want to have the flavor come out. If it's not that, the only reason I like those is because they don't rip, and also I can probably stuff about 3 or 4 grams in the bitch.
A pound is 16 ounces, right?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Like, I'm telling you, like, if I had the ability to, which I have in the past, and I probably run through 5 or 6 of those a day. You know what I'm saying? Every single day. And then if it's not that, I really enjoy the Bob Marley papers. They're a natural one. They come with the crutches, but they're a slightly bigger paper. I can easily stuff, probably 2.5 grams in that as well. And for me, I feel the more material you got in there, the more flavor you're going to get. Obviously, you're going to have more terpenes. So it's just where I'm at it. I've been taking a tolerance break for about 2 or 3 weeks now. I got a birthday coming up, and so I'm like, I want this motherfucker to really push. So next month, I'm going to take the day off of work and wake up at 5 and just start chiefing all day long.
But that's some good going, bro. I think the most I used to smoke was about 12 ounces a month. So you've beat me, man.
Hey, these guys, is there any, like, since you've been in the game for a long time, is there anything like connoisseur wise, like, is there a special paper or anything you can think of? Because like, there's so many different types of papers out there, like.
Well, man,
just whatever.
No, I'm just currently just using OCB Slims, the brown packets. There's virgin paper on them. I'm not smoking nothing too special or too fucking crazy. Just what I buy in the shop.
One pack, I used to love bamboos.
Bamboos.
Yeah, I used to
love. What are those, bro? I don't think I know those.
But yeah, so what are those phenos that you were pulling out smelling like?
The last run, I had a lot of body odor, a lot of foot cheese. And when I mentioned these things, I think on the last podcast, I don't think I was very clear in the fact, but there's skunk and everything on it. I don't want to sit there and say, oh, it's just foot cheese, whatever. It's not. There's actually a good amount of skunk in it. Now, what I've been trying to find, which I think I actually found it this time around in the BOSS pack, is straight fucking skunk. Like, I have this one that it's probably 85-90% on a skunk and the rest is body odor, where it's flipped from the last time. The last time it was probably 75-80% body odor with that skunk on the end. And this one I have like 2 or 3 cuts of it. I actually had a mother which I flowered out, took more cuts off of her because she was just too big not to do it, because I gotta get my weight up. I need more smoke. But yeah, this one I'm extremely happy about it, just because now I'm really starting to finally get, it's probably about going on 40 seeds out of 100 that I have. And now this one, the Pheno Hunters that I sent to Blue Sky the other day, that at day 20 has more frost than anything that has come out.
Beautiful one, yeah.
Crazy. But I'm also running UV, so it's like to me, like I mentioned before, like there isn't anything that doesn't come out with frost unless it's just a real shit genetic. But
that frosty one at 20 days, that's the first time you're growing it now, yeah?
Was
it
hunters before, a few of them, but this one in particular, and they all come out very similar. They all come out with very similar structure, growth rates, everything else. Normally I would probably get that kind of coverage on that maybe a week later, so it's definitely advanced in the cultivar, which I enjoy. And I'm gonna have to send you a picture of them or a video of them now, Blue Sky, because what I send you that video maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago, something like that.
Yeah, I posted it myself too. I reposted it, bro.
Bro, wait till I send you the update on it. I mean, I don't know what the fuck just happened, but god damn, they fucking thickened up. Like, surprised. Even I'm surprised. Like, how the fuck did this just happen? But literally just fattening up at day, I think it's 24, 25, 26, something now. And normally I wouldn't see that kind of swelling until week 4, maybe even 5, bro. So I don't know what's going on with that shit, but I'm loving
Gorgeous.
it.
Looking
That's
forward
what's
to
going
seeing
on
this
with
one
it.
finish, bro.
Super
What's that?
cool.
I said, I'm looking forward to seeing this one finish, and how she ends up the final result. What kind of tips is she putting out right now?
She's in the back there, so I haven't been staying too much up with the terps, but it's funky as fuck. And like we mentioned on the last podcast, bro, there really is some of these that I can't even fucking describe, bro. Like I just can't.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's funk, I know it's raw, but it's a mixture of a lot of things that I'm just like, I can't put my fucking finger on it, bro. Like I just can't. Like I know I go to the peanut butter, I can smell the peanut butter, I can even smell some of the cherry that it's crossed into, you know what I'm saying? But this is just like, I don't think I've ever smelled anything like this before in my fucking whole damn life.
Let's say change so much, like it's hard to
really
describe them because early flower to mid to late flower is all pretty different. So
Yeah,
What did you just chop last night, bro?
Sorry?
me,
Yeah, old killer. Yeah, what did you
I
chop last
chopped the
night?
grapefruit and then I chopped. I still have the pine butter skunk that needs to go, but I took care of all my poison peaches and nag champas. And honestly, like right now, I'm just trying to. I wanted to get this run done. I know I got seeds in there cooking, but I wanted to get this run done so I can get the skunk hazes under my ceramic metal halide instead of just in my little starter tent, So those are going crazy as well, though. But
how many cut down?
how many plants? Just 8.
Oh,
But
wow.
I was up late because I bud washed. So I did it branch by branch just to make sure everything was really taken care of. Because I mentioned it on IG, but my furnace blew about 6 weeks into flower, and so I had to move everything from my major room into another room, and it was pretty dusty and everything. So I just wanted to make sure I got the buds nice and clean before I started drying and stuff. And some of this I'm going to process for RSO. Some of it I'll put in the freezer to make some hash. But I got a decent harvest. I think I'll probably get close to 2 pounds, maybe a pound and a half, something like that. Pound and a half probably.
Shit,
But
that's still good.
yeah, man. And like you were saying, dude, the blue skies. What I've noticed is a consistent yield throughout the plant, and you don't even have to go crazy with the topping or anything like that. It's just, I mean, I maybe topped 5 or 6 times throughout the grow with the grapefruit, which is kind of a lot, I guess, but it wasn't overly topped or anything. But even with the re-veg actually came back stronger than the original grow, which I think is normal. I think that usually does happen, but yeah, man, I mean, it's a consistent yielder, and I really like growing them for that reason. So what type of topping are you doing? Are you doing a lot of topping since you're trying to increase your yield and stuff?
No, I don't. Like, my whole system is, well, if I'm going from seed, it'll probably take me 4 weeks to 5 weeks tops to get to that 6th node or so, and then I'll do that topping. And from there, I only have about maybe 3 weeks of veg, maybe 4 weeks of veg. And so I only get a chance to top maybe twice, maybe 3 times if I'm lucky. But I'm not doing this round and the last round. I haven't done any training. I've just been topping correctly where I feel they need to, so they're not getting too tall. And the canopy depth with these motherfuckers, bro. I literally have 5-6 footers indoors right now in the fucking tent, off of 2 toppings and about a 3-week veg with this shit.
You mentioned UV. Are you using like a LED light bar, or are you using like a ceramic metal halide with the UV?
No, I'm under an HOG 600 R spec with Solacure UV, which isn't LED. It's more like I guess a fluorescent, but it's hella fucking strong, bro. Like, I only run it, let me think here. The last week of veg, I start them off with about 20-30 minutes spread out throughout the day, and then I increase up to about maybe 2 hours or so as it goes into flowering and everything else. I've done 4 hours, 5 hours. I fucked up one time and had it on for 6 hours because the timer, I'm like, these fuckers are getting fried. But I find at least for these, because there's no dimmer on it, and I can't even fucking measure it because even the Apogee new par meter doesn't even read anything under 300 nanometers and shit. So it's like I'm kind of just eyeballing it and see how they're reacting. So I wind up with these particular light bulbs about 2.5 hours by week 6, and then I'll start dialing it back down all the way to week 8. But I know HOG makes an LED bar that goes pretty much down the center of the light. I don't know, bro. I just feel like it's not as intense as what these ones are, honestly. I mean, you literally, if you stand under there for half an hour fucking around with the leaves with that bitch on, I'm gonna have a goddamn tan on top of my this bald ass head. Honestly, it's that strong.
That reminds me, I need to get some glasses to start protecting my eyes because I don't wear them. I need to.
No, you definitely have to. I try to remember to turn off the timer when I'm in there and what have you, man. But I've been running that. I've been running Solar Cure since 2019, I think it is. And bro, it's 9-day difference in crystal coverage. I mean, as amazing as these genetics that come from Blue Vienna. I mean, when you really sit here and think about it, I mean, they're fucking decades old worth of actual genetics to go in there, and all these newer crosses. It's keeping up with frost all day long on it, And I do feel like that has a lot to attribute with the UV, and they tolerate it so well, bro. It's not like they're getting fried or they're fucking all droopy and shit or anything like that. They really.
What kind of highs you've been getting since you've introduced that UV? Have you noticed the difference in like more potency in the high or anything like that?
From 2019 to now, definitely stronger. I don't feel like it sways overall high as far as like it was kind of more of a heady high to whereas now it's more of a slump or anything like that. I just feel all it does is intensifies everything, because when you sit and you think about it, I mean, obviously the majority of all the cannabinoids are in the crystals, and so what I've been having the issue with, it becomes, you get the average crystal coverage, and then when you hit in UV, it's another coat and then another coat and then another coat. So I'm having a hard time even trying to keep up with the fucking amberness because they get buried underneath the other shit. It's like on crystals up top. Like, this should be done by now. I'm like, so I have to look in between the leaf cracks and everything else to actually look for these fucking these amber crystals, unfortunately. And I feel like especially with the Pheno Hunters, I really do feel they're like more of a 9 to 10 weeker depending.
Yeah. There's definitely more sativa dominance in those, and longer flowering.
And so I've been trying to dial that in as to when they should be cropped and chopped, because I feel like even a couple of them I chopped probably a week and a half early, and they're still super heady, like very racy, And I'm a sativa man myself. I'm not really with the whole slumpness and shit unless it's at the end of the day or I'm having some pain issues. But I mean, that shit gets your heart racing. I'm fucking just focused as shit, and then I forgot which one it was. I think the first run, I think it was that garbage juice one that I got originally, but it was a small plant because I did like a 1 week veg and flipped. And that motherfucker had me, I swear it had me, I felt like my head was a balloon. I felt like a Banksy fucking coach with a goddamn, tied to my neck and my head somewhere up here in the clouds, walking around and shit. Like, oh, fuck, it really is that. I can't even explain it to anything else. Like I'll smoke all these newer shit. Don't get me wrong, and here locally they have all this other stuff, but nothing coats the mouth like that. I haven't had that since the fucking late '90s, early 2000s, where it's just like you could taste. You know what I'm saying? And it's every that pack. There isn't one thing from at least from the Boss and the Pheno Hunters. It stays on your fucking mouth. It numbs your fucking lips, and I'm just like, what the hell is in this, bro? What'd you put in this bitch, crack?
So what kind of highs have you been getting from the Boss packs?
The Boss packs is they're a little different than the Phenos, obviously, definitely thicker in structure. The terps are, I feel, a little more dominant, but I think that's just more to me because I do feel they're more of an 8-weeker, at least from my growth rate. So I've been hitting them just on time. And this time around, I'm gonna let these pheno hunters run the whole 9 or 10 weeks and see just how strong I can get. But those are very similar. I don't get, there's some that do get me racy like that, but there's some that just kind of get me like a peaceful, tranquil, not plump, not sleepy, but just like very, very ideal, almost like you're in a meditative state.
Yeah.
I'm very huge on meditating daily and, and understanding myself and life and everything else, but that just puts me exactly where I need to be at. I don't feel anxiety. I don't feel depression. People fuck off in traffic and you just like,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for with the heist if I was going to, I do further work and sort of like do my single lines, that's what I'll be recreating, is that kind of complete body and mind balanced high. It's got
you could tell done into this, Blue Sky. Like realistically, I still can't fathom and understand the hate other than just being haters, because I mean, like I think we mentioned from the last podcast, like all these experiences that you were like screaming at the top of the mountain, like, motherfuckers, this is where it's at. And I'm just like, there's no way. I think even the previous podcast, the guy was just like, he's been saying there's just no way this is real shit, because nobody does have real skunk, and you've been doing this shit. I mean, it's the first time I've heard you from some years ago, and it's been some years now that people still don't fucking want to get on board or still don't believe that shit. It's fucking true. I ain't gonna sit here and lie about a goddamn thing. If it's if I sit here and tell you like, yo, bro, it wasn't all that, or I'm very forthright with everything. But literally every terp that you have mentioned, every detail of how they grow, everything that you have, it's all true. There's no bullshit. Like I'm finding everything that you've said, from the cheeses to the garbage to the shit to the skunks to the foot to everything is there. The growth rates, the lateral branching, like I'm thinking that's why I get 2 toppings in, and I really don't need that much more, maybe a third, if that. And the lateral branching just come up right up from the side. And all right, let's go. Let's do this. The fucking node spacing, you don't want them too tight, but these are perfect where they connect to everything. And that's my thing. I love seeing, huge spheres that connect everywhere. I hate seeing fucking stem surface, stock surface in between the things. For me, I feel like I fucked up. Like this, what did I do wrong? But it does come down to genetics. And I've never had issues with your shit at all, like at all, bro. Definitely one of the better, if not the best, fucking genetics in the pheno hunt I'm doing at this very moment.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, I think we sort of touched on it on our previous podcast that we just did with Real Genetics. It's just the state of the industry today. That's why the reception hasn't been what it should, because it's like this, I don't know, it's almost like there's celebrities in this game and they don't like anybody coming along and dethroning their position, as it were. Do you know what I mean? There's too much ego. There's a hell of a lot of money involved for the people that are, on the burner level of exposure to the market, that kind of thing. There's potentially, a lot of money to be made with something new, and people just want to suppress it, work it into their own lines and release it as their own product without giving credit. That's what it ultimately comes down to. That's what's been going on for the majority of people that have bought the seeds. There's been a handful of people that have been cool and said, yeah, this is what I've used. I've crossed it to something else, like completely outside of the old time one gene pool, or I kept it and I've made this and credited me, etc. But hell of a lot of people aren't doing that.
I think a lot of it is just like, anytime the game changes, whether it's basketball, art, music, whatever, the people who drastically change the game are going to get a large amount of hate and controversy, and and then eventually those same people, I feel like we will see them either adapting and trying to run the genetics, or
they already are running the genetics.
Well, what I mean is like openly though, and maybe even eating crow a little bit and saying, hey, I was wrong. Or maybe we won't see that. I don't know. Maybe some of these people's egos.
No, I just think the egos are too much, bro. And that's what it ultimately boils down to. They've got this well-established egos who are hero worshipped by, you know, predominantly younger crowd of people that aren't as experienced as in cannabis as older people, and not through their own fault, but really because they've just not had that exposure. It's not in the dispensaries, it's not being fucking, you know, wrapped about by fucking burner or, you know, that kind of bullshit. Whereas all the shit cannabis is being promoted as like amazing. But it is changing now. I think we are starting to have some impacts, and it will. But yeah, that's why it's ultimately, that's why, getting back to my point,
You know what
that's
you,
why
you know what you don't
it's
see, though? Sorry, bro.
basically not being well received, is because of the super established egos who think they've got the best. Ultimately, Old Timer One has got the best. I'm not saying I am personally the best. I do believe he collected the best set of genetics out of anybody, simply because he was around from the start before it all got fucked up. And he's had such a long amount of years in the game to collect all those things and to work with them. You know what I mean? He's an excellent breeder. He's made superb selections, but he's had decades over the rest of us as well to do it. So I'm just on the shoulders of giants, as it were. But yeah, that's what the rest of the breeding community doesn't like, is the fact that I've definitely brought back skunk in the most meaningful way, more than anybody in the past fucking 20 years. Everybody before me lied about it. I've done it. That's a lot of egos and noses pushed out of joint. And second of all, everything else pretty much that Old Timer One had, aside from skunk, is also far superior to most modern fucking genetics. So I've just come along and gone, these are the best genetics in the world. People have fucking grown them and started to agree with me. And, you know, it's not always well received, obviously.
But like you mentioned, down to ego. I mean, realistically, if you put those packs, if you were a whole different person, even myself, for example, if I was in your shoes and I did the whole 60 mom, breeding program with Old Timer One and stuff like that, I would not have been able to further it and expose it to the rest of the community the way that you have, because of you are who you are. You know, you've been able to excel that and his work and bring even his name back into light because of, you are confident in these genetics, and for rightfully so. But you put them in anybody else's hands, I highly doubt that they even get to where they are today. Now, regardless of the hate or however they got here, it doesn't matter. The fact that they are here and people are finding all these things, so it's coming out to be true. But realistically, in anybody else's hands, they wouldn't. I feel they would not have advanced and been exposed to the community had not been for you, and your personality and the way you go about it. Because closed mouths don't get fucking fed. You know what I'm saying? And you've definitely been able to just like, hey, over here, no, motherfucker, over here. And if it was here before, I'm not going to sit here and say that there isn't, obviously different skunks and probably some just as amazing, but they're probably sitting in somebody's collection or somebody's home that doesn't want to, put themselves out there like that. And that's fine. Everybody's got their own path, but don't hate on the motherfucker that's blazing the motherfucking trail, with the goddamn bullhorn, fucking real ass skunk this way. Don't fucking, take it the wrong way, but come check it out. So yeah, definitely without question, bro. I'm excited. I'm happy that I have run across you, and now I'm running across of other people that were running your genetics. I love all the stuff that all the rest of the skunk fam are doing, that you're posting up. Beautiful fucking colors, some purples, oranges. I mean, fat ass nugs. I mean, there isn't much else that you can really get out of this. I mean, you're check marking everything that you would want in a phenome. And the effects are, speak for themselves. It's not a very generic effect. You can go smoke some cookies and some gelato if you like, but you already know what you're gonna get. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's not enticing. It's not exciting. It may get the job done. You got some pain or whatever, some anxiety, depression. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But until you've experienced these fucking terpenes that haven't been around in forever, especially with, like you said, the new age cats that just don't understand. They came in fucking, 4 or 5, 3 years ago, and there's nothing wrong with that. You have to have a start, but there's so much history behind this, so much history, and people that have hunted down land races and done all these things that you just can't gloss over. I do feel like in the last podcast with Real Genetics, you had mentioned that the future is the past. These new have to come back. I feel like there's a breeder that I follow that he breeds a lot of the newer stuff, all the new cuts he's getting. He's breeding it to himself more so than what the original breeders can do, and I'm happy for that. And he's looking for an effect. Say for instance, if you get a Tangy, you mix it with an OG and you're expecting this, but it comes out to be something totally different. I forgot the word of it. Aesthetic effect. I forget what it is, but you're crossing so many things on one side, and you're crossing this other thing so many times. You're putting those two together in the hope that it's going to create something totally different than what it's supposed to do. Yeah, you can do that, and at some point it's going to hit. But the amount of crosses, there's also a lot of dilution going on. If if you're not sitting there really seriously trying to weed out no pun intended, some of these shittier genetics and traits, then you're literally just also adding in those shitty genetics and traits into the mix and hope that you're going to catch that fucking Hail Mary and that stunner. And you don't have to do that with these packs. Like literally, yeah, you'll get a couple males out of them, but goddamn, the males fucking shit on a lot of other people's female genetics, And so it's one of those that it is definitely going to come back. I really truly feel that, and it's all really because of you, man, and the confidence that you've had in yourself and the work and these genetics, and all in all, still trying to fucking give credit to where credit was due. With Old Timer one, I don't know him from a hole in the wall. I'm not super versed in breeders and history when it comes to that. But the fact that you're even to at least say that, people want to take it as like, oh, you're trying to build on his name. Like, no, not really. I'm trying to get his name out here and show him like homage. And this is whether right or wrong. When you go left or right, you're gonna have somebody that's talking shit about it, But I feel you, honestly, y'all. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it was just that I've grown such a huge amount and of like, especially like Dutch, because I was starting out in the early 2000s, my growing really, so I grew a lot of Dutch stuff. I grew all the Dutch breeders' catalogs, I grew everything. So by the time I'd really got into growing Old Timer One stuff, I'd probably already grown maybe 600 different, strains. And so I'd experienced a fair amount, and of all different kinds, land races and the modern hybrids and some OGs and stuff. And yeah, so I knew what was pretty much out there, and I knew that every time I smoked Old Timer One stuff, there was another level to it, to the experience, to the effects, to, what I mean? There was just like this connoisseur kind of component to it. There's just an extra level, another dimension to it that was just absent from anything else. Even anything else I'd liked previously that I'd rated at that time, it's still just got something. Like today, for example, my friend sent me some of the Boss pack that we'd sort of like grown together at his place. And up until today, I've been smoking like Cali shit, What have I had? What the fuck did I just have? I can't even remember. What the fuck? Gelato.
That's how forgettable it is.
Hey, how forgettable? Yeah, some fucking Cali shit. Anyway, and yeah, today is the first time where I'm meaningfully high, if you know what I mean. Like, as in, all the receptors are being hit. There's neurons firing off that isn't firing off when I'm smoking fucking Cali. Do you know what I mean? There is just, it's next level. It's like two different worlds. I guess it's like drinking champagne versus meths. Methylated spirits. I don't know.
I'm lying to any of that, bro. I mean, realistically, I go, I don't trust anybody as far as I can throw them until you show me something, and that's just got to be earned. And I remember, okay, you're talking about the terpenes, and you're like, yo, I got these and that, whatever. Okay, great. That did turn out to be true, obviously. But even at that time, you were talking about the experience. I don't fucking smoke anything but this shit and da 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 da. I'm just like, the arrogance of this motherfucker. He must just like shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to smoke their own? But realistically,
oh, bro, trust me. If I wasn't in the UK right now, if I was like in one of my normal growing environments, 100%, I would not be smoking no Cali. It would be all my own. Yeah.
But it's absolutely true, because you were also talking about the effects and the experience of it, and that's that's something that, you know, not everybody can sit there and say like, yeah, for real, man, this is what it is. And I don't smoke anything else but this shit because of the experience. That's a very, very fucking bold statement, considering there's fucking thousands upon thousands of fucking strains out there and thousands upon thousands of growers that are doing their thing. But as it stands now, I have to agree with you. Experience wise, it's definitely different. You know, flavor wise, it's definitely different. Terpene aroma wise, definitely different. Everything, like I said, everything that you have said, you have proven, at least in my eyes, to be 100% correct. There was no lie into any fucking statement that you have said thus far, and that's a rarity to even to these days, because everybody's on the hype train. Everybody's trying to get that first easy money in those packs to go in and out, and you that's fine, you can do it, but at least be honest with it, be real with it, and that's exactly what you've done. And you're gonna get hate.
That's a fact. I've never lied, bro, about anything because I've had no reason to lie, none whatsoever. And
No,
I
you
always think this, the truth will always win. You cannot fuck with the truth. That's why I'm still here. That's why, despite the best efforts of these scummy little motherfuckers, really, you know, I've had 25 accounts and all the rest of it. Not that aside, even if they didn't report my accounts, just the absolute, like, it's either like a media blackout or there's a hate campaign. It's one or the other. And despite it all, these fucking pussies, they can't fuck with me because I got the truth on my side 100%.
like, I gotta find you every other week. Like, where the fuck did my homie go to? Like, goddamn, other account. Like, holy shit! Like, you have gone through that many accounts. It's insane to that the hate and you know what I'm saying, the try to silence somebody over that is ridiculous, man. I mean, IG itself is already a fucking pain in the ass, but to have people in the community that you're part of, we're all part of this shit together, man. And realistically, in the annals of history, we're gonna go down as the shittiest fucking era ever because of the prohibition. This shit was fucking, you know, was utilized and accepted worldwide thousands of years before us, and it's going to be utilized and accepted worldwide thousands of years after us. We're just in this small little portion of surrounded by assholes, you know what I'm saying, that we have. You know, think about it, you know, in this past 100 years to the next 50 years, yeah, we've gotten some, you know, some advancement in it, but think about 200, 300, 400 years, 500,000 years ago, Egyptians, everybody else had access to this freely. And once everybody comes around, hopefully there's a huge change in consciousness about it and acceptance. In the next 100, 200, 500 years that passed us, it's going to be all open again. And we're the sorry assholes that had to live in this little area, you know, time.
Yeah, it does take. I think that sometimes. Yeah, it absolutely takes the piss. We were born in that little portion of history where these cunts fucking put us in prison for it.
Yeah, you see, and that's where as when you sit and you think about it, all the growers, you know, ourselves included, you know, we're doing things that morally we find, you know, right, and we can take a stance on, you know, regardless of what laws are around, regardless of
absolutely.
that says that. And for that, anybody that's growing, whether legally or, you know, in the legacy market or in anything like that, I applaud you guys, you know, because you guys are realistically standing up for what you believe is right by doing this action of growing this beautiful fucking plant. And the amount of help, the amount of relief, the amount of medicating that's helped people, and even at sometimes probably save people's lives from not just health issues, but
without doubt
brains out, you know, because of depression and anxiety and all this stuff. You can't put a number on that. You can't hate on that. And that's why I don't get where everybody in the community, we're all in this fucking thing together, but yet there's, you know, there's going to be an asshole or two in the bunch that fuck it up for everybody, and then that compounds.
Again, it's came out at a weird time in the community's history, as it were, too. And it is 100%, no matter what anyone says, it is just money related. We live in a time where, you know, you've got fucking JBs, he's selling that emergency shit for fucking $1,000 a pack. Every motherfucker wants to be that guy, you know. All these dickheads are thinking, oh, if I can, you know, sell 1,000 packs at $1,000, I've made my million, that kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? That's what all these little bums are thinking. And they all want to be that guy who brought skunk back because it was so, you know, pretty much gone. Like I've always said, yes, I know there's some fucking redneck somewhere up in the hills where he's got his one skunk and fucking whoop-de fucking do, big deal. I don't deny that. I've never said I'm the only living soul on earth with skunk, but I have said I'm pretty much the only fucking soul on earth with old timer one's skunks and such a wide variety. I'm not just here hoarding my one little fucking red hair skunk. I'm here with like fucking all the skunks, you know? Fucking every skunk of every
Including the
nuance
red
that
hair.
exists.
Including the red hair.
Including the fucking red hair. I got the fucking king of the red hair too. I don't give a fuck. There's no point denying it. Or it's not even ego and all this bullshit with me. I just facts, man. I am the king of skunk. Just fucking through fate, through God giving me that shit. That's what it is. Not because I'm so wonderful, just what it is. And fucking these bitches can't deal with it.
I mean, you're working with genetics that just literally through time and being lost to people like Old Timer One, they're just not ever going to be available again, you know? I mean,
and that's why I gave Old Timer One all the credit, bro, because let's face it, it's not down to me, is it? It is down to fucking Old Timer One. That's why I always give him his props, always fucking said where it came from, because without him, it wouldn't exist. Everyone says, oh no, you've got to fucking kind of, I don't know, raise the flame or whatever, and you know, take the mantle, and you accept this, your genetics now, and you've done this. There's a true element to that, but you still cannot get away from that fact that fucking it's down to Old Timer One holding these genetics for 50, 60 fucking years privately, never diluting them with Dutch shit and fucking, you know, he was the one that really did keep that fucking stock alive and in that form for all that time until I was able to unlock it. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's amazing. 40, 50, 60 years. Jesus.
Yeah, he started his collections in the late 60s and working with the skunks in the late 60s, starting that shit in the late 60s. So,
and it really is a shame, and it's a profound loss for cannabis as a whole that we can't get this information from Old Timer himself, you know? I mean, I understand if I was in his age and losing my sight and poor health and stuff, I probably wouldn't want to sit down and talk with a bunch of people, a bunch of shitheads, you know, and talk about shit that he's already been talking about for that long. But it does suck.
It can only be his personality, bro. It cannot be anything else because, yeah, he's at that point in his life now where he's old and he doesn't want to do that shit. But 20, 30 years ago, even, he could have, like, said stuff. Even then, you know, I mean.
You think maybe it's like, maybe he's just like, I experienced cannabis in a way that almost no other person has, and I just want to take that to the grave with me.
There could be an aspect to that. It's certainly, in some ways, he's like put a lot of genetics out there, but in other ways, he's got this kind of hoarding aspect to him where, you know, he doesn't, you know, I don't fucking know. I don't know how much I can really speak on him or about him, but he's certainly not forthcoming or seeking any form of fucking fame, and he can't have any fucking ego because he just don't want no one to know about him.
Well, I wonder if there's an actual treasure trove, you know, of, I mean, these genetics that we're working.
Oh, bro, can you imagine what's going to go down when he goes down? He's obviously going to die sometime soon because he is so bloody old in his 90s and no one lives forever. You know, at some point in the not too distant future, he's going to die, and I don't know what he's going to do with his genetics, but I know for sure he's got an incredible fucking library.
Some greedy fuck is going to get their hands on that. And it'll already be too late because we've already taken it as far as we have, you know. But I mean, who knows?
I certainly see when I do my large, say for example, if I was to pop 200-300 Pheno Hunters, I know you can certainly see plants from every fucking part of the world very clearly there. You know, I think they do encompass much of what he had.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, as he passes, like we all will at some point. I mean, regardless if he is appreciative or not, you know, you have continued his legacy on for whatever that's worth to anybody. But you really are the one that did that, you know, and I can only hope that somebody, you know, hopefully my son could do the same for me, you know, and the work that I've been able to put in, you know, because I'm first generation actual grower myself. I mean, I come from a line of my grandfather and his grandfather on both sides are farmers, and they used to do tomatoes and watermelons and run, you know, huge down here in Florida, it's orange groves and shit. And so it's in my blood to do that, but it's one of the things that I gravitated to mostly when my grandfather passed away in '96. He passed away from cancer, prostate cancer. It's him and another buddy of his. I think he had stomach or colon cancer, and I was very close to my grandfather. He was more of a father figure than my father, honestly. He just was really there for me, and he passed away because of it. And his friend went over to Germany. I think at the time he was really well off, and he was getting all these treatments and what have you. And my grandfather, listening to the doctors, wound up going with chemotherapy, and they were putting these little radiation pellets in his fucking prostate and all kind of shit. And for about a good 6 months, they were like, all right, he's doing all right, but just like anything else, it took a turn for the worst, and he was gone within a year. And his friend, well, I wouldn't call him a friend, just an associate. He's not really the nicest of people. This motherfucker's still around, bro. And I'm like, how the fuck did he beat cancer? But my grandfather did it. And this is me like at, I think 16 at the time or whatever. And I'm like, bro, I don't know what's going on. So I started asking questions around the guy's family and stuff. And some of it is because they were doing, cannabis therapy, out in overseas and shit. And, I'm just like, what the fuck? I said, hold up, man. This plant can fucking cure cancer? Like, no.
It definitely can, bro. I know a guy who's he started an organization in the UK called Bud Buddies, and that's basically what he did was supply, high quality, clean RSO to specifically. In the end, it ended up being specifically really only to children. At first he used to help everybody he could, any age, etc. I think he still does help old people if he can, certainly, but his focus became and he started off really like grassroots with it, like totally just helping out a friend who had MS to begin with. And then it just spiraled and spiraled and spiraled to the point where he has helped over hundreds, he's helped hundreds of children with like nasty cancer. It's not just like, some pictures he showed me, that's the other thing, you'd have to deal with all the psychological kind of impact on him. So parents sending him the most horrendous pictures of like their children with like tumors coming out of their mouth that are like the size of their heads, that kind of thing, just fucked up shit you can't imagine. And he was even helping, cure children like that. He's responsible for saving hundreds of children's lives through oil. It does kill cancer without doubt.
Well, I know for a fact in 2019, I was help manage a True Leaf dispensary in Sarasota, Florida, which at the time, was their biggest flagship in the state. I think they only had like 30 stores at the time. Now they're like over 100. But we had one of the patients that would come in and we had very limited amount of RSO, and every time would come in, and this motherfucker would just get everything, go spend $2,000-$3,000, fill out his whole prescription, whatever he had to do, and get it. And he would make suppositories and stick it up his, and he cured his fucking tumor, his cancer. I'm like, what?
It works, like that, no problem.
No, absolutely.
They
man.
say in a large number of cases, especially if the cancer's caught early, like a stage 1, an early diagnosis, then taking a gram of oil every day for 90 days, like heavily smashes it into remission or gets rid of it. And then like a maintenance dose following up for 6 months, like half a gram, something like that. But without doubt, cannabis oil is 100% killing tumors. And I also believe these old school genetics, where they're not, whereas modern high THC cannabis is capable of doing that, I think these old school genetics with everything in them, or the complete range of cannabinoids and terpenes, I think that's going to be even more effective in killing cancers, basically.
It's the whole
part of, I do believe it's quite possible that Sam's role could have been to actually, destroy the old skunks for that reason.
That's crazy. That's crazy to do that to an actual strain and a cultivar that's fine on its own, honestly. There's nothing really added to it.
Skunk 1 versus these skunks, when you find like a really nasty rank skunk in a boss pack and then you compare that to skunk 1, it's like, what have you done to it? What the fuck? Why?
Why?
Crazy. And I think there is a nefarious reason behind it, because I do think the terpenes, well, we know for a fact terpenes are hugely medicinally beneficial for a huge range of things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it wouldn't surprise me. Whereas, this is like slightly conspiratorial, but it does not surprise me that Sam could have been tasked with actually destroying that skunk and those skunks because they were incredible medicine and perhaps highly effective against cancer in an age or a time where they knew, you know, you look on the TV today, they're telling us, oh, 2 out of 3 of you are going to die of cancer. It's become a fucking industry as well. And I don't think they want you to be able to grow a plant at home and just cure yourself of it. They want their fucking billions every year from the cancer treatments, you know?
Oh no, I got an uncle right now that is going through stomach cancer, man, and because of his upbringing and religion, you know, cannabis is you know, you can't do it, but he's fucking doing chemo, losing his fucking hair, trying to make it work every day, and I'm just like, man, let me help you, and he's just like, no, I can't. I'm like, I don't want to see another family member die when they shouldn't have to. And I'm sending him information. And like, look, man, I don't care if I got to go and fly over to Colorado and pick this shit up, because here in Florida, bro, everything's, I don't know if you know much about Florida, but everything's microgrammed, bro. Everything is fucking separated and microgrammed. It's fucking ridiculous to get RSO here. I think it's like $40 or $50 a gram or something stupid, you know? And I'm just like, how can anybody provide any medication for themselves when you got to take, you know, like you mentioned, a fucking half a gram or a full gram a goddamn day?
Yeah.
You have to know somebody that grows, you got to grow it. And if you grow it, then you got to know what the fuck you're doing to get the amount out and everything else. So it's just like, what do? You know, and I can't help him. There's nothing I can do. I'm anything short of just fucking spiking his drinks and meals and shit. I don't know what else to do, but it's a sad
Well, it's tragic, bro. It's tragic because it really does work, and the sooner the better. You know, always the sooner you start treatment, the better. You know, you can cure even stage 4 cancers in some cases, but you know, my friend did a documentary on it. The guy who started Bud Buddies, and what he found was even the people that, some elderly people that had various stage 4 cancers, the ones that weren't cured, they still had a very, very, very much more comfortable end of life experience. They were sleeping better. They didn't have the pain. They were able to eat. Yeah, all of that. You know, it helps in every way. There is no downside to it. You know, there's no downside to it.
No, there isn't. I think it's just one of those things. It's a stigma, obviously, especially with the older folk that come from families that are very traditional. I mean, I'm Latin by ethnicity. My family comes from Mexico and Spain, but the majority of us are all from Texans, huge Texans. My father's like 6'4", 300. You know, I'm 6'2", 240, 250 sometimes. My brother, my sister, everybody. But cancer runs huge on one side of the family. Now, obviously, it's 2 sides of the family because it's my uncle on my mother's side now, and it makes me nervous. You know what I'm saying? But coming from that aspect of that's for the low lives of Mexicans, or the low lives of the family. We don't do that kind of stuff. And
yeah, Origin Cannabis mentioned that kind of stigma in Mexico, which I wasn't aware of. I just thought, no way they'd be like that. Surprising.
Well, it goes back to the propaganda, of where it originally started. You think of marijuana, you know what I'm saying? It was supposedly blamed on the immigrants of Mexico, Mexicans coming through here, and Mexicans and Latins in general. I'm sure any family, but anybody that's coming from a Spanish background, work ethic is a huge fucking part of our culture. We go in there, we fucking grind. We don't give a fuck how it's got to get done. We go do it. And so it was part of the whole the lazy siesta taking Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? Those are the tokers, and it's just how it was, and that got passed down from one generation to the next and at some point that shit had to stop. And literally, I'm the only one in my family that actually smoked. Not my brothers, not my sisters, not my uncles, nobody else. It's just me, and it's kind of difficult because I know what it's helped me just on a.
Bro, you smoke enough for all your family.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've had to calm down on that just because I can't grow enough for it. I don't keep up with myself, but I'm like, all right, so let me just calm down. So not realistically now, I'll smoke a few J's a day, and I'm not gonna sit there and lie that they're little. I don't like smoking any penners. I don't care how, even if it's strong. I still don't like smoking pinners because it comes back down to the taste. The more material you have, the more flavor you're gonna get, you know. And so I like stuffing that shit from tip to fucking tip, more than cannons, and that's why I prefer those Bob Marley papers, just because they you can actually do it. But realistically, I mean, you can get away with the pinner, so have a really good effect, you know, and holistically still do really well. I've always, the tolerance level, you already knows, goes up. Before, I was stuck on concentrates in 2014, 2012, 2015. I think it was for 2 or 3 years. I just smoked no flower. All I did was just smoke dabs, 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 dabs. And my tolerance break was like, all right, I'm not going to take dabs. I'm just going to smoke flower for about a month, you know. And now it's different. Now I enjoy dabs if it's, you know, a really good fresh frozen, you know, rosin pressed or what have you. But I also want to know how it's grown. I don't really like smoking on most people's shit around here, or shit that gets, you know, from other states. I know, now being a grower for fucking over a decade now, like religiously, like really into it, like I know some of the shit that they've been doing and putting in and everything else. I just rather smoke my own, or somebody that I know does right by the plant, you know. But I don't really like taking dabs all that much.
Have you made any hash rosin from the Pheno Hunters or Boss? Because I've had some made by some really good extractors, and it was pinnacle experience, really. It was beautiful, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, see,
if I had my way, I would smoke a lot of that hash rosin, but yeah, for sure.
I haven't had to experience your genetics in concentrate form just yet, but I'm working on it. I used to have a friend here that was a great extractor. Unfortunately, he made some poor life choices and he's no longer around, but it's one of those things. Again, the same thing with the extracting, just like it is with growing, you know. How clean can you get it? You know, what's your process? You know, all this stuff that's going to affect its flavor, its terpene profile, you know, its intensity and all that. So I'm really particular as to what I put in my body. I don't, you know, I'm plant-based 99% of the time. There's occasional piece of cheese here and there, but that goes down to the smoke. You know, I'm not just going to be smoking anybody's shit. I just won't. I'd rather just wait.
I think this is the heart of the conversation that we need to be having, honestly. Blue Skies, you mentioned that you felt like it was maybe a little conspiratorial to say that Sam the Skunk Man was working to destroy the genetics.
Well, tell me, how does that guy get busted?
But let me just say this real quick, if you don't mind. I just looked it up. I know you're good, but I just looked it up just because I was curious, man. And anybody listening can go read this for themselves. It's on the Mr. Nice forum. And the thread is called "Sam the Skunk Man finally admitted to working with GMO marijuana." Okay, and then it says here, and it's just kind of long, so I'll just keep it short. But at the end, he says, "I have some real trouble understanding that a man was a hippie traveling in Afghanistan, India, Nepal in the 70s. I'm surprised he's not already working with the government." And then it says, "Maybe I'm wrong, but accept DJ Short's genetics and it's overpriced, overrated, in my opinion. I was thinking Canadian genetics were the result of Dutch seeds companies, and to me, Chimera Seeds is the result of this. Maybe he crossed recently, some well-known clone only, but again, Kim, Piff, Jack, Sweet Skunk, all comes from Neville strains or Cincy seeds, which is basically the same thing. I should give him credit where it's due. He sells pure haze seeds and skunk seeds to Neville, but one thing is clear to me. In the modern history of cannabis, it's not him who bred and shared all the well-known high-quality skunk hybrids and haze hybrids. We all know Great White Shark, Super Skunk, Early Skunk, Skunk Haze, Super Silver Haze, Neville Haze, and it's not him who shared the medicinal CBD enriched strains or low THC strains we see at CBD crews now. He bred many strains, and as I understand, he has some pure CBD, CBG, CBC separate strains. Who did he choose to sell his seeds to? Us, the growers? No. He chose a pharmaceutical company, GW Pharmaceutical, and to me, it tells a lot. So sorry that was kind of long-winded, but I do think that there is some serious credence to what you're saying, Blue Skies.
Well, exactly. He sold a limited library. I believe it was something like 12 strains for something like $10 million or 10 million UK pounds or 10 million euros. But that was the figure, ballpark figure, to GW. So how does some guy who gets busted by the feds in 1985 end up in Amsterdam a week later with a suitcase of 250,000 skunk and haze seeds and other seeds? Get given licenses in Holland that no Dutchman has ever been given to get huge facilities and premises, acres and acres of glass houses to have free will to do what the fuck he wants with. And then in 2008, I think it was, he sells it, or 9, he sells his library to GW Pharmaceuticals, who made a spray for MS called Sativex. Yeah, how does that happen? How does some guy on the run end up in Holland getting licenses that no native Dutchman ever got given, and then gets to sell his library for millions?
Here's another one. Here's another one, if for everyone listening, because I think I'm gonna start making a big deal out of this, because we're talking about RSO, we're talking about children with cancer, we're talking about tumors that are so massive they can't live their lives. And what do they have to help them? They have their dispensary weed, which we know is grown like fucking garbage. We know it's shitty strains to begin with. So we're not even able to help people who need help. They're being given cannabis that's not even 5% of the effectiveness that it should be. So just really quick too, I'm just looking through things, and for people listening, thcfarmer.com, here's another thread. Neville's passing and the start of Operation Green Merchant. A few weeks before Neville passed away, I was arguing, blah, blah, blah. Sam the Skunk Man, David Watson, was DEA, and he's the one who turned in Neville. So this is not just you, Blue Skies. I guess that's what I'm getting at. I'm not trying to derail the conversation.
No, my knowledge comes from having read absolutely huge amounts on the internet, over the years, that has been compiled and put out about Sam. Some people have done a lot more comprehensive compilations than what I've outlined here, with a lot of detailed info that suggests the guys are fucking fed.
I guess what I'm getting at here is, like, the spirit of what we're doing is about truly bringing medicine back to people who need it. It's not about selling packs. It's not about who's got the biggest dick or a pissing contest or none of that shit. I mean, it's human nature to compete, but at the end of the day, we're all using cannabis for our ailments, whether it's our mind ailments, whether it's our bodily ailments, terminal illnesses, whatever it may be. This plant is here for a reason. It's not here to be adulterated and stripped of its medicinal quality just so that it's pretty and will sell in a Mylar bag. I mean, it's really disturbing to me as someone who has a disease, and also, have watched family members die because they didn't have access to this medicine. And it almost makes me cry because of how vital it is. And in the community, someone like Sam the Skunk Man is put on a pedestal as if he's some person who's done anything for us. And in reality,
remember that dodgy little thing he did on ICMag a few years back, when he asked people to send every single possible seed that they could from anywhere, from any period of time, from any location, send him the seed, no matter how old it was, because they were going to supposedly document it. I think it wasn't quite Phylos, but something else. He was trying to make this huge, giant DNA data bank of all cannabis that existed or something. Do you remember that shit? I got banned off Instagram, not Instagram, off ICMag countless times for just saying, don't fucking give this fucker anything. And because, what's he going to do with it? You cannot fucking trust him. He's going to be giving it to Monsanto. They're going to be fucking GMO and everything,
Absolutely. And it's really nefarious, and it speaks to what we're talking about in terms of the reception from the people who are the most popular in the community to you.
Yeah, that's why I think Kevin Jones is a
you
fucking
and how
fed as well. He's Sam Skunkman 2.0.
They've totally
lying, fraudulent cunt.
They've vilified you. They've tried to defame your character. misrepresent what you're doing. And I truly believe in what we're doing, just because of the relief that I feel from your plants.
If
And
Kevin Jodrey is not another Sam the Skunk Man, why has he positioned himself as this hero to be worshipped, this icon who's all about spreading knowledge and awareness and spreading the genetics and putting the medicine out there, all this fucking hippie bullshit he's espoused for years? How come he's done the most to hide the true skunk when he was given knowledge of it in 2018?
And
Full
check it out
knowledge.
too. Check it out too. If we go down the line of people now who are releasing their version of roadkill skunk that's widely accepted by the community, they don't get any static. What connection do they have? And it's to Sam the Skunk Man. I mean, that's where the genetics are supposedly coming from, right? You know, the skunk one releases. I'm not going to say any names because it's irrelevant. But what I'm saying is, you know, those people are being applauded for doing this or doing that, but we know what's really going on. So it is really disgusting, and it is very concerning that this is sort of brewing at all times. You know, whoever's operating with the government to conspire against cancer patients needs to be exposed. It's not about, you know, a popularity contest or whatever. It's that people's lives are at stake right now. And you know, it's just crazy to read what I just read, because I've heard you talk about this before. And
there's a shit more that you can find to read, bro, when you actually go into this deep. I'm sure all the information I've read previously, it doesn't come up so easy in search engines as it used to do, but I'm sure it's still out there. I don't think it's completely.
All you have to do is Google Sam the Skunk Man quotes, and this is what all came up for me. So for everyone listening, you know, if you want to know more about this, I think that you should do your own research, do your due diligence. And if we're wrong, but I truly don't think
there's a whole bunch of info out there. Even Arian of Greenhouse Genetics, a greenhouse fucking seed company, whatever the fuck he's called, that guy. Everyone knows that guy. I've read documents where he was like saying he was one of the first guys to point out that he thought he'd spotted Sam because Sam's always having these fucking strange looking Americans come over, and it was Arian who first pointed out like that guy that's his fucking CIA handlers over there. He was one of the first people to kind of put it out there in that context and mention it in those terms. He was like, Sam was in a fucking coffee shop with his CIA handlers.
Yeah, I mean, and then it's probably just it's spread its roots so much further into the industry at this point from people who are connected to him, and so they've all got something to hide, you know. And so, you know, that's why I feel so strongly about what
didn't Sam like first popularize the feminized seeds and the autoflower seeds as well? I'm pretty sure Sam had a hand in bringing out autoflowers to the masses.
They may as well be ornamental plants, you know. They may as well be,
which again represents a deliberate decline in quality that he's putting out there for people. It's like Sam is the antichrist to cannabis.
I mean, at the very least, he's got his hands in ruining it for everyone, you know.
Yeah, that's insane.
And for financial gain or whatever. So, you know, I mean, that's part of the conversation, but I'm really glad that we started touching on the RSO aspect and how much it can actually help people, because I think a lot of, especially younger people, they're just smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? They're just smoking weed, and they want to grow some weed because they want to have a pretty picture on Instagram. And that's cool, dude. We all fall victim to vanity and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And especially, you know, even me, I'm not any different than anybody else. We all love pretty stuff, but at the end of the day, you know, when you really need it, this plant is going to be there for you. You know what I mean? And I just want to help you, Blue Skies, and you, Migz, and all of us as a community. I want to help bring relief to people. I mean, you said you work for True Leaf and stuff, so I can only imagine how many people you saw that needed help and couldn't really get it. Or if they did, they were bankrupted.
Yeah, absolutely. I have enough supply is the thing, you know, and then on top of that, you already know it's a corporate, so the quality isn't going to be there. Lab tests are fucking bought all the time, you know. It's just it really the only reason I took that position, because I'm so fucking anti-corporate with everything, is literally because it's the closest thing that allowed me to stay within the industry and be close enough to where my son was living at the time with his mother. And I turned down a cultivation job at one of their bigger grows in Tallahassee, Florida, but I couldn't do it because it was almost 6 hours away from where my son lived. So I wound up saying, nah, I'll just do the fucking stupid ass 9 to 5 shit, which retail hours are not for me, bro. Like, I just can't do it. And I mean, I can put on any hat I need to succeed. That's not an issue for me, but it's just, I love just growing. You know, I don't even necessarily love selling anything, obviously, even from the retail side of things and anything like that. I just love growing it, you know. And if being able to make a living off of the knowledge or the technique or just anything, the ability to do that, that's where I want to be at. You know, I wasn't a grower my entire life. I do come from the legacy market, but, you know, I come from the transport side of things for many years down to Mexico and back and everything else. And it wasn't until I started really growing that my passion started to really push for it. And corporate is just one of those things that it's not for it. I've had many opportunities to grow for corporate, you know, fucking Satero, which is I think they're Parallel now, which was their main competitor, even though a far second, you know, place. I also had opportunity to grow for them too, which was about 2.5 hours from where I'm at the moment. And the same thing, you know, they start the second I go to interview for them, they don't care about anything else. As far first and foremost was, can you identify pests? It's just like, oh, you guys are having mad problems. I already know what's going on, you know. And after that, it's like, all right, what can you do for us? And I'm like, well, I can do this. And I didn't really care about anything about streamlining anything, bringing in quality genetics, none of that shit. They just like, look, this is what we want. You're either going to conform to it or you don't. And I turned that bitch down. I was at one point super considering to grow for Maggie's Farms in Colorado, which is, I think, one of the oldest licenses there. And it was outdoors, which I was already coming off a great outdoor season. And it was going to get me actually the experience I need, you know, in the commercial side of things. As a cultivator, you know, I was gonna be the lead cultivator, but I think I was gonna come in as the assistant. And at the time, it was 2018. I just got done through my divorce. I'm living at the fucking park, you know what I'm saying, for like a month, saving money up to get back down to my son. And that call comes in, and I'm just like, if I take this, I'm not going back to Florida. I'm going to run this for another year to really hone in my, you know, my commercial side of things. And it was either that or the retail, you know, fucking store down in Sarasota. And I'm just like, I got to go. And so there's been a ton of opportunities, I feel, that could have actually advanced me and put me further out there. But it's not about that. It's about, you know, doing what's right, you know what I'm saying, and doing what's best, you know, for your kids, obviously. So
For sure.
I put everything on hold, you know, like my career as in general right now is on hold. You know, I'm taking shitty ass jobs, you know, doing stuff I don't enjoy, but for the sake of, all right, I know this is just a temporary thing. And as soon as things legally get better, you know, with my son, which they are, and his mother and what have you, I'm going to go back into furthering my career and my passion, honestly. But in the meantime, honestly, the only thing that got me back into cultivating realistically was the genetics that Blue Sky had. Like, I was just itching about it. Like I was mentioning on the last podcast, I had it for like over a fucking year. Like, oh, fuck, it's really true or not? I don't know. It's just sitting there. I'm looking.
So you held down a pack for over a year?
I 6 packs for over a year.
Oh my God. That's some patience, bro.
3 BOSS packs and 3 Pheno Hunters packs. And I'm just looking at them. I put them off into my little storage thing. I also have a couple other little packs of some land races and stuff. But and I'm just like, those were the ones that interest me the most. You know, and I'm just like, he's still around. I found him on 5 other accounts by, you know, 4 months. I'm like, he's still talking about the same thing. I'm like, I have to find out, you know, the quality down here and the variety, it's very limited as far as when you're like a real true connoisseur, especially when you're a grower. Like, not everything's going to be like, yeah, let's do just smoke. I'm like, no, that should look like garbage, bro. I don't want to put that. And so I'm like, you know, fuck it, let me start doing some personal. Let me get some pheno hunting going on. And got a couple tents and doing my thing, whatever. But I mean, realistically, everything, I'm telling you, man, everything that Blue Skies have been mentioning is done, and I'm glad that I did, because and I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of not glad that I did, because I'm probably going to hold on to the rest of the packs until my situation gets better, because I don't want to run through them. Even though I want great smoke and I want to hold down some of these mothers, I don't want to have an issue to, like we were mentioning, like, I don't know where to put these mothers if things go right here, and I don't want to lose these fucking genetics. So I think I'm just going to hold on to the next packs and they get to bed. Then I'll start all over again. Like, oh, thank God I still have access to them. I think,
Bro. I feel the same way. I think that, you know, as a community, the skunk fam community, as we start to expand and everything, and we start to like maybe improve our resources, our pool of resources and everything, I would like to set up like a little bit of a either a tissue culture bank for us or some type of clone repository where we can make sure, like, say somebody's going through a situation where they've got to move. Well, I can hold your stuff down, or we can pick a trusted person. It doesn't have to be me. I would just like to find a trusted person who we can isolate these phenos and keep them for when we need them if we can't hold them down in a mother form or whatever, you know, because there's just so much, and even the ones that don't catch our eye right off the bat, they still have something to offer, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. To you all too, because if you see anything that I'm working with, you know, you have access to it. I got no problem sending you cuts, seeds, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting ready. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but I'm in negotiations with someone who has building a facility and everything. So I should be moving down to Oklahoma in a couple months as soon as it starts warming up. And so I want to get a situation set up there to really start helping people, because just going back to the cancer conversation and things like that, like that's truly what I care about. Like I really, really, really want to help people. And I think that, you know, this is a way to do it. So yeah, man, I mean, and preserving the genetics is part of that, especially because we know the boss packs and the pheno hunter packs are on their way out, you know? And luckily Blue Skies, and again, I've probably thanked you 1,000 times, but I'll continue to do so. Like you really seriously, truly bless me with this many seeds, bro. And I'm really going to respect that gift and just pay it forward to people who need it, you know? So thank you, dude. And
well, hopefully in May, I should hopefully try and get somewhere outside of the UK to start a new breeding project, because I need to create new things, because as you say, the boss packs are now extremely limited. They are almost gone. The tip down tickets, there's a few more hundred packs of those, but they won't last forever. And yeah, I've got to progress. I got to carry on and keep bringing things out. So yeah, in May, I should be looking to maybe go to Jamaica or South Africa or Mexico. They're the three places I've got on my mind at the moment, where I've got friends that I can go and do something with, you know?
ultimately, and I'm just going to just manifest this right now, I'm going to put it out into the universe. Ultimately, and I think we've talked about it, Blue Skies, but ultimately, my goal would be to have maybe a few dedicated operations to these plants. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a greenhouse or whether it's just outdoor or indoor, whatever we can come up with. I really want to have operations completely dedicated to hunting, preserving, and creating medicine with these plants, because they really do deserve a lot of attention. So that's my goal, man.
If you get that facility running, or you run across an opportunity like that where you're part of, especially in Oklahoma or anywhere, by all means, look me up, man.
Absolutely. I mean, you've already got the experience.
Yeah, in 2020, I finally got a good shot at actually doing some real commercial size stuff in Tennessee with some hemp plants and also some autos. But I mean, that year on the outdoor, I think in total we did about 25,000 pounds of outdoor, dried, cured, the whole nine, and probably about two and a half tons of auto.
Cool. It's amazing though that you're able to get
Okay,
it
yeah, I
all
was.
and process it and everything.
Yeah, it was one of these things where it was just a friend of a friend that that knew the owner of the farm, and just crazy enough that, oh, I happen to know a guy that can probably help out. And so I went out there on a cultivation hire and just seen the most atrocious things happening to these plants because there was no SOPs, there was no IPM, fucking nothing. They must have had like 7 or 8 different fucking pests on them, and some of these things had powder mildew. I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing here? Like, Jesus Christ. But these are, you have to understand, like, these are coming people from never left the county, you know what I'm saying, Tennesseans, and you know, all they've ever been done is on a tractor, you know, since they were a kid. And so they come from a tomato background and treating things as such. And though they're similar, they're not really similar. And they were trying to dry and cure in a barn. They were trying to dry and cure. They had I think it was 20,000 square foot warehouse facility with huge freezer, walk-in freezers. I can't remember the size of them, but they lost 30,000 pounds the year before because they couldn't dry and cure it correctly. And they had probably, I think, 3 dehumidifiers the size of F-350 trucks in that bitch, and they still couldn't get it right. And when I got there, I'm like, look, I see what the issue is already. I said, give me a week, I'll have you pumping out, drying and curing shit. He goes, yeah, right. I said, just give me a week, I'll show you what I can do. And so I changed some things around. I fixed the HVAC a little bit, sealed up a lot of shit, kind of told him, like, look, man, you guys are trying to dehumid the whole goddamn world with all these fucking leaks, for one. You know, and like, no wonder. Done. And so sure as shit is within a week, maybe about 8 or 9 days, they started seeing results. And I'm like, they're like, yo, we need you here. Well, I'm not fucking cheap, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So we struck up a really good deal, which they were adhering to for the first half of our contract. And the last half, you know how it is, bro. People start seeing that money coming in, and they're just like, oh, well, this and that. I'm like, you know what? And so we're gonna have to part ways because my check ain't looking right now, you know. And out I went, but I'm very grateful for the experience because, I mean, it was 25 acres with 15 out of 30 greenhouses operating and dropping about 40 or 50,000 seeds, you know what I mean? And had probably about like 30 workers and employees. I had to write up all the SOPs. I had to email everybody, had to get them on the right nutrients, the drip schedule. They didn't have a fucking ppm meter, none of that shit. They were just throwing high nitro to everything. I'm like, yeah, granted, it was anybody with, you know, half grown experience could have probably easily point them in the right direction. But it's stuff like that at some point a lot of this product went to, you know, hopefully in the right hands that helped somebody, you know. And
it was hemp, like CBD extraction.
Yeah, CBD extraction. Some of it was into biomass. And again, it's just, you're only as good as your team, you know what I'm saying? And when you know what you're doing and you got your team doing something, but the farmer and the owner itself have other ways of doing things. Like I'm telling them, I said, you probably need about 1,000 gallons easily of IPM here. You know, I said, we're going to do a quick spray on, you know, on some stuff that I was using at the time. But you can't dilute it to the 1,000 gallons. You have to dilute this to 100. We'll see how the plants do, and we'll go from there. And, you know, it's like he puts it on the fucking 1,000 gallon, hits the tractor and hits the fields up and nothing happens. I'm like, who told you to do that, for one? You know, secondly, I told you got to get these male plants out here. Every time they start popping up, it's about ready for them to start going. And so I need half the crew, if not all the crew, to push all this week to get it out. And I come down at that time. I was coming down every month for about either a week to just a weekend to see my kid down in Florida. And I said, look, all the instructions are here. This is what the week schedule is going to be, blasey, blasey, blasey. And I come back and I'm like, all the weeds are pulled, but what about the fucking males? And he's like, oh, we didn't have time. I said, be prepared for seeds, motherfucker, because y'all just fucked everything up right now, you know? And a lot of the front half of the property wound up going with seeds because of it. And I'm like, well, there goes biomass now. I said, you're not going to get, you know, what you're expecting out here. I said, but you're fighting me at every fucking turn. I keep trying to tell you, this is how you got to do it. I don't know if there's a communication problem or some kind of fucking genome problem in your head, but you know, you're not listening.
Well, I've been in similar but different situations where, like, you know, it's this person's place, they've been doing something that way for a long fucking time or whatever. You go along, see it's absolute fuckery, tell them what to do, and they just don't fucking listen. It's just, yeah.
You can't help somebody that don't want to help themselves, man. And it's a shame because predicated on what they do is going to also, you know, be your profit margin as well. If you're off of
Yeah.
percent, it's like, well, you're fucking my shit up too right now. I'm fucking out here away from my kid, you know what I'm saying, living out of hotels and shit like this. This shit ain't cheap, you know, and you're fucking up my check at this very moment where I got things I got to do myself. I know it can get done. I'm doing it, but half the time is fighting you to fucking get this shit right, or you pull them off to go do something else. That's not what was in the schedule, you know. So
I always say this, bro. You can have plants, but don't make you a grower, does it?
no, not at all.
Yeah.
Makes you a gardener.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, I don't think enough respect is given to people who have taken the time to actually acquire the knowledge that's necessary to treat the plants appropriately. Because, you know, you can be a good grower, but are you a good dryer? Are you a good curer? You know, can you process it appropriately? Like you said, the first thing they want to know is, can you identify pests? Well, can you? I mean, isn't that supposed to be what you're doing already? You know what I'm saying? And so they're bringing you in, and then they can't even pay you enough. That's just bullshit, you know?
Absolutely. You know, everybody wants to get something for nothing, man. And I'm at an age myself, I'm, you know, in my early 40s that I've already been around the block. You know what I'm saying? You're not just going to get me to come in for some cheap wage to get you up and running correctly and then just say toss out like, oh, well, we're good now. You know, and I've had plenty of experience and deals and opportunities with not just commercial like that, but even with family members and smaller grows that it's like, dude, we're getting this perpetual up and going, and you already fucking shit up with me just off before the first cut because you see how crazy and amazing they're looking, and that's a testament to these fucking plants, bro. When like you, like us here on the panel, we've been around these plants forever, you know. But when it's somebody that, yeah, they smoked or, you know, maybe they moved a pack or two or whatever the case is, but when you're around the live plant and they are spot on looking amazing, yo, it changes people's fucking whole, it blows their mind. They just get big eyed and all of a sudden nothing else matters except for that, you know? And I'm just like, to me, it's like, all right, we're gonna be even better in the next one. Let's just keep it moving. It's not a very big thing, you know. I've been around the plants and a lot of poundage, a lot of tonnage, even in the transport era as well. Like it doesn't phase me by any means. I've been around a shit ton of money, you know. It doesn't phase me. I just, you know, I want to grow something amazing. I want to be better at it every fucking time out. And other people have different agendas, and if they don't line up, then, you know, everything falls apart, unfortunately.
Absolutely. For people like us, money is an afterthought. It's necessary. It's necessary. We all have to eat. We all have families to support, and we all want to be compensated appropriately for our labor. But at the end of the day, and I know for myself, just speaking for myself, money is an afterthought. You know, and you know it does take money and experience to grow it correctly. So it's like, if money is your goal in general, I mean, whatever you're doing, if money is your goal, chances are what you're doing is gonna lose its ability to be high quality. You know what I'm saying? If you have your eyes on the money, something's gonna get fucked up in the process. You're gonna try and cut too many corners or whatever it may be. So yeah, I mean, yeah, bro, that's quality is all I give a shit about at all, you know. And I don't know if I've asked you this before, but what is your growing style? Like, what methods do you use? Like when you're
Grow- I'm sorry.
like when you're just growing at home, like are you growing in soil
Uh,
organically?
I would love to grow back. Like I started off in soil. I think my first plant I grew was in 1999. Yeah, 99. And it was like, I think it was a white widow or white Russian or something. Never in my fucking life ever seen like white bud. I just fucking blew my mind. It was like back then I was in other facets of different products at the time at an early age, and Miss Mary here just wasn't something that was viable to make a percentage on at that time. And a buddy of mine had got order some seeds off of the High Time magazine from some of those seed banks you mentioned overseas and shit. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? And so we did a closet grow. It was only like, I think we had 6 seeds and only 3 of them popped. One of them was a male, so I left us with 2. And one was a bubble gum, and the other one was, I can't remember, it was a white rhino or a white widow. It was fucking white and just blew my fucking mind. Like, what the fuck is this? And I didn't start smoking until like I was 19. I tried smoking at 16. but just to try it out, and it didn't do anything for me. And at that time I was on my athletic, fucking era of just like fucking balling all the time, and I didn't want to put anything in my body, da. And it wasn't until when I 19 when I started smoking with an uncle of mine. He's like, bro, you need this. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, bro, you wound the fuck up. I'm like, all right. And it did that. So in 99 I did that. It wasn't a big plant, it was little, had a few buds, but the smoke blew my mind. And after that, I tried growing in soil. I was guerrilla growing out here in Florida for a while. I don't know what the statute of limitations are, but I was doing soil, but I didn't know anything about the plant. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know photo periods. I didn't know how to flower them out. I didn't know nutrients. I'm fucking, just getting regular ass dirt out the fucking side of the lot there and putting it in, you know what I mean? Throwing Miracle Grow and shit on it, trying to figure stuff out. Why the fuck aren't these damn things flowering out? And then you have the whole summer here in Florida that's nonstop rain religiously at 1 o'clock till fucking 5 o'clock. You're going to get your rain all day long. And so I'd had to deal with mold and issues like that. And so what I wound up doing is figuring a couple of things out over the years. At the time, in 2001, I got married, and 2002 I was running around and stuff, but it wasn't something that my ex-wife was really into, you know what I'm saying? So anything that I had to do away from the house, and nothing was going to stop me anyways. And I wound up putting 5-gallon buckets, using 5-gallon buckets, and we have huge pine trees out here. And so I would get the paracord, the camel paracord, put my seeds in there, and literally fucking climb this goddamn trees in the middle of fucking nowhere and start yanking them all the way up to the top of the canopy, because the fucking the wildlife officer already had raided like two of my little crops that I had going on the floor. And so that allowed me to, one, get better sunshine, two, also is created like a fourth dimension. Nobody really looks up and shit when they're looking for flower or anything like that.
This is crazy now. When I was young and I used to read the books and high time magazines, I'd read stories about people growing in the trees. I think, really, do people really do that? Now, you've told me this. JR Old School Chronics told me this. I can't remember whether it was Origin Cannabis or Real Genetics, just in the past couple of episodes, also were growing in trees.
I definitely think Steve said it from Real Genetics, and I almost
Steve said it, JR said it, and now Migz.
I've heard it too, and I never really thought that was a thing.
I certainly heard it. I've read it many times in like various little things, but I used to think, man, are they really doing that?
Yeah. Just have to, because I think on the last podcast, like it was mentioning, you got to find a good spot. If you don't find a deep enough spot, and the wildlife motherfuckers out here are like goddamn state troopers, you know what I'm saying? They have horses, they have four-wheelers, they have 4x4 trucks, and it's one of those things that, and then you also have just regular people just going. I've encountered other people's crops, you know what I'm saying, growing up as I've been cruising through four-wheelers and stuff, like, holy shit. And then when you see a big one out in the middle of nowhere, I'm not the type of motherfucker to fuck with anybody's shit, and I don't know who's around, I don't know what's booby trapped. I'm like, we're never coming on this part ever again, because we're going to wind up in a very bad situation. But there is a lot of people that'll see that and be like, fuck it, we're coming back tonight and picking everything up. And that's happened to me twice. And after that, I went up to the treetops, you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like Jungle King, you know what I mean? Like I'm up. But it wasn't anything that was successful, you know what I'm saying? Like once I started understanding that I would plant towards the end of summer, so that way I did get the rain, and I didn't have to check up on them too much. And it was close enough to July, August where they will start to flower out is when I started seeing things, but my input sucked. And I just like, well, fucking soil might not be for me, and between that time, I stopped growing for a number of years. And in 2006, 2007, it was right before my son was born, I wound up having a couple friends that I didn't even know they were growing. I met them through some friends of friends, but they had whole houses gutted out here, fucking running indoor hydro with the HPSs, and that was something new to me. Like, what the fuck? The only time before that I ever seen any kind of crazy plant was down in Mexico in 2003. And when they talk about the movies of like, oh, in the middle of a valley between two mountains, it literally is that shit. Got to get there to fucking donkey back ride and shit to get there. But when I finally arrived this area, 15-foot fucking monsters, colas the size of my head. I never like. I'm thinking they're trees. I'm like, I've never seen a plant anything like that, and it's a testament to how I also grow. If you look down through my page, I got 2-liter colas my damn self. You know what I'm saying? Outdoors, I don't fucking play around with it because that was the first impression of what I felt that the potential these plants can do. And never in my life could I overthink that. But it was all the Mexican stuff, the red hair and the orange hair and stuff like that. But I didn't get serious with it until I seen the indoor. And I learned a lot off of them. They were running CO2, they were running, soilless and all that. And so I tried my hand at it, but it was hard because I didn't have an indoor space. I was always borrowing somebody's, garage or somebody's, extra room, and not knowing the inputs and VPD and PPFDs and all this shit back then. I was a little more successful, but again, it was more of a thing where I didn't have enough time and ability to do it. And so a couple years go by again, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, fuck, all right, what can I do now? And it wasn't until 2014 when I really started like, all right, I'm really going to make a run at this. And I wound up renting a small spot, and just learning what I could do there. And then by 2016, I was pretty well versed as to really flowering some good stuff out. My yields were kind of shitty, and I was still in soil. But again, I didn't understand soil, the drybacks, the moisture content, and everything else. And I was just buying what I could buy with bottles and things like that, and at the store, not really going to an actual grow store at that time because it wasn't there. And in 2017, I tried to get out to Colorado in 2014 when that happened, and because of the relationship I was in, that was like, no. I said, look, man, I want to do this shit I want to make a good run at this. I think I can be, successful at it. And she just wasn't having it, unfortunately. In 2016, I'm like, look, man, I want to get out there. I got to get out here. I'm already doing this kind of shit. I want to be able to not have to be like looking over my shoulder, waiting for shit to pop off, my shit being stolen, none of that stuff. And I'm just like, my own countrymen, fucking 1,500 miles away, are living it up like it's nothing. And I'm not here fucking having stressed out. I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. So in 2016, 2017, I moved into Colorado. And that's when I really changed everything up. I learned a lot from a couple people up there. And I changed into cocoa, and which was a new experience for me. I did the hydro, I did the soil, cocoa, and I was doing cocoa outdoors on top of that, which a lot of people weren't doing at the time. And I learned a lot about drybacks. I learned a lot about runoffs before a lot of this information came out. And if you even look at those are 2-liter cocoas and damn cells, because of it. And so my growing method for now is doing cocoa from start to finish. I prefer clones over seeds, but obviously, when you pheno hunt, you want to get your seed game going. I started off with seeds, but moving forward, this is the first seed runs I've done in some years. It's always been clones. I do bottle nutrients, clean grow, which I want to say is it's a similar formula the way current culture is. I want to say it's the same team behind the current culture nutrients, and it's just they've done so great with me over the years. I've never had issues with them. I try to keep things simple. I used to hand feed, which was the fucking pits, man. Like, god damn. And so I do auto, and I went from just dousing everything to actually micro drip. I started micro dripping, I think like 2 years ago now. It's been something like that. And so the things that I've learned about it and my philosophy and theory of it is this, and this is where the micro dripping for me makes sense. And where I feel I was going wrong is the fact that these plants are on a truncated timetable of lifespan. You think about it in flowering mode, they probably have 60 days, 70 days, I'll just call it even 80 days. And if you're to convert that into human time, that's 60, 70, 80 years. And the growth rates actually, reflect that. You can get 2 inches, 6 inches in a matter of a day if you got your VPD right. And so if one day equals a year in the plant's life, then it makes sense that you want to microfeed throughout the day. You don't want to fucking just douse everything at one time. It's like essentially putting all the calories and all the fucking protein in one year into one sitting. Yeah, you're gonna eat, but there's only so much you can eat, and the rest gets expelled out the way. You don't really utilize it. So when I started micro dripping is when I really started seeing growth rates just go through the fucking roof. I was able to control my drybacks better. I do follow high VPD chart. Like week 1 of veg through week 3 of flower is pretty much the same. Like I go for simplicity. I don't use a shit ton of products. I use the A and B, obviously. I use a Water Max, which is a root descaler. I do a booster in flower. In transplant, I'll use either Mycos or the extra grow stuff, which if anybody's listening, that extra grow shit is just a whole other fucking level of ability. It utilizes everything that's already in the cocoa or soil and converts it into food. I've been doing that for a few years now. But for VPD and shit like that, it literally hot, humid, and Amazon is what I do for veg and the first 3 weeks of flowers. So I'm probably pushing 82 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit and probably 70 to 80 humidity all the way up to about week 2 to week 3 of flower. And then I'll slowly start tapering down. My CO2 levels, that was a whole other thing that really pushed ability through the roof. And I pushed probably 1600 ppms and CO2, at its highest. And I just keep gradually going up. And then by week 4 and 5 is when I start to cool things down. By week 7 or 8, these motherfuckers think it's goddamn, the cold winters of Afghanistan in the fucking mountains, because I try to get such dry air and such cold temperatures, which really put that frost on. The UV came in a few years ago, which again put just more fucking trichomes on it. And you already know trichomes equals more weight. So yeah, I've been doing it like that. My dry and cure, usually I'll do a 50-50, 50 humidity, 50 temperature. And then for the first 2 or 3 days, I try and get the most of the moisture out. And then I'll go to a 60-60. I'll probably hang about 7 to 10 days, maybe 14, depending on the size of the plant. And then I'll dry doing the burping method for probably another 2 weeks after that. So about a month or so, give or take, of curing and drying. And I'll do the trim at the very end. I tried wet trimming, fucking failed. Total fail. I tried it twice. I don't want to do it again. But that's pretty much where it's at. I would love to learn. I think you mentioned the last time as far as soil and inputs and stuff like that. But if soil gives you just that much more terpene profile and flavor, I'm for it. But again, like I can't beat the yields and the growth rates that I'm getting with soil compared to the cocoa that I'm doing.
No, for sure, bro.
And that's where I'm at. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I feel personally my quality is right there par and par with anybody that's doing that at the moment. I have heard, I haven't experienced it. Somebody is doing organic soil. That's a night and day difference. I would love to try some of that. That's done correctly. Everybody says, "Oh yeah, I'm organic." Da, 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 da. Let me see what's going on. But as far as the growth rates, if cocoa is a 10 in growth rates and soil is a 9, it could be opposite as far as quality. Soil grown correctly could be a 10 in flavor and quality, and cocoa is a 9. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have X amount more yield than you will, without question.
Right.
More for me to smoke, but that's where I'm at. But I do want to expand to modern natural farming, Korean natural farming, all these inputs that I really haven't had ability to expand on. It's one of those things that I would love to do. I do train, but I don't train too much. I do pinching tech between week 1 and week 3. I do some tipping, which is just tipping the end of the buds around week 6 or 7, kind of gets them fattened up. Heavy strip D-leaves, usually at the end of week 3, week 6, give or take. And a lot of people don't do a heavy D-leaf, everything that really makes that plant hit is kind of counterintuitive. Your dry backs, stripping all the fucking leaves off so they look like spaghetti. It don't make no sense. But what people don't understand is that one, yeah, you get the light penetration that comes through it, which obviously helps bud growth. But there's also transpiration rate that happens within the bud heads itself. And so when you take a majority of those leaves off, the plant has no choice to do one of two things. It's either going to grow new leaves, or it's got to, at the moment, for at least a day, maybe 2, expand and get these heads even bigger so they can start breathing again. And so when you do that, 2 times, 3 times throughout its little life cycle there, you wind up with bigger buds, just how it is. But you also have to have everything in point. What I'm saying right now will probably work for anybody else. If you're not running CO2, forget about running 84, 85, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Forget about running those heavy, high percentages of humidity and shit. You know, it won't handle. I think at the end of week 6 and 7, I'm probably pushing 1,800 ppfds. You know what I'm saying? And they tolerate it, no problem. You know, my UV's on point. But if anything goes out of whack, whether it's a timer, whether it's a leak, whether an AC goes out, then I'm just overfeeding, over fucking flooding it with lights, and you're gonna have a downward spiral after that. You'll see them droopy. You see they're not really pushing. They won't eat as much, and so you gotta play God in that. You gotta trust in your components. You gotta trust in everything that you're doing, because if not, literally, if one input goes out of whack, then all of this is all in vain, honestly.
Sure, man. I mean, you're touching on really important stuff, because I think environment for a lot of people is an afterthought. You know, your VPD is so critical. I mean, your growing method, whether it's natural farming or cocoa, whatever it is, that's important. But if you're not putting all your efforts into keeping that environment on point, then your plants just can't keep up with whatever you're trying to give them. You know.
It all comes down to rates, without question. You know, first, how can you get the environment to where they want to transpire and eat that fast? You know, and then after that is when you flood them with the high EC, when you flood them with the high CO2, when you flood them with the high ppfd. If you're not getting high transpiration rates, stick to 1,200 and under ppfds of light. Stick to, you know, under fucking 2 EC, you know, on all these things, because they're not going to need it. And if you're flooding them, you know, I mean, more power to anybody that's doing it, but you'll get way more out of your plants when you're micro dripping it, when you're micro feeding them. Obviously, you have to go to runoff at the end of every day. But if you got a plant that's fucking transpiring and drying back, depending on the size of your pot to the size of your plant, you can micro drip to runoff halfway during the light period, and then another fucking full feeding, you know, up until the last hour of light and shit like that. But again, it's so many variables that you'd have to take in consideration for any of this information to work for you specifically, you know. But that's pretty much my spiel on what I keep things super simple, bro. I don't foliar spray unless it's something that a deficiency that is really I can't correct. And there's benefits to foliar spray without question. I'm not going to deny that. I've done it myself. But realistically, the plant's going to want to eat out of the leaves first and foremost. That's why humidity is such a huge factor in things. And so I feel if I'm trying to feed these motherfuckers through the leaves, it's going to slow down its uptake of roots. You know what I'm saying? That's where the real shit's at. And it'll take another day or two for them to start, all right, we're not eating out of leaves anymore. Let's go back down to the roots. I just lost technically a year or two of actual growth rate that, you know, it slowed down. Yeah, the leaves look shiny. Yeah, the deficiency is gone, which, you know, again, if it's a huge deficiency, yeah, by all means. But I don't foliar feed for that simple reason. I don't want them to stop eating out of the roots. That's where all my nutrients and everything is at. And again, there's I'm saying it's not a benefit to that without question. Just me personally, I don't feel like it makes that big of a difference for the way I am growing. You know, my literally 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks of veg, you know, and I'm already pushing 2+ pounds of light, no worries. Depending cultivar dependent, I've hit a little over 3, I think 3.20 or something like that once before. I'm not gonna sit there and say I hit it every time. But it's one of those things that it just comes down to that. People are saying, "Oh, I'm hitting 3 a light. Oh, great." Well, my first question is, "How long you veg for?" You know, "Oh, 8 weeks." Oh, all right. Now, don't get me wrong. Kudos to anybody that hits 3 a light, 2 a light, anything over 1.5 is fucking amazing to me. But if you're doing it in 2 months' time, you figure 2 months of veg, 2 months of flower, another month of dry time. I'm waiting 5 months to get 3 poundsies. I can't do it. And it's not worth it. I'm getting 2 cuts out, maybe 3 cuts out of a year for that. Like, so that's where I feel cocoa and all this other stuff. Now, the only thing I really want to try my hand at is RDWC. And the reason being is because you get, you know, faster growth rates of that, but you can also manipulate the water content by using nano bubbles with oxygen injection and shit like that. They just, again, a whole other fucking rate of growth, but it's also a rate of fuck up. If you mess up, you'll fucking kill your whole goddamn plants in like 2 or 3 hours if you're not on your shit. You know, so that's why I like cocoa. It gives you a fast enough growth rate and forgiveness enough to where if things fuck up, you know, you got to go to the damn grocery store to grab something that messed up or whatever. You have a day, maybe two, you know, you can fix things, you know, but I'm trying.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important too. It's something that you touched on as well. For new growers, I think it's important to say this. When you're thinking about a plant, you want to think about it in terms, like a lot of people think of things in terms of human years, and you can imagine what a dog year is like or whatever. For a plant, a day is similar to a year for us. So
Absolutely.
imagine all of the bodily processes that go on for us throughout the span of a year. How many different types of things we need to keep us healthy, to keep us focused, motivated, all those things. Obviously, plants are different than human beings, but a day is critical. 2 days is
Absolutely.
critical. If you're not providing the optimal transpiration rates, you got issues that you can't really correct at a certain point because it's causing issues in the root system, and you know the leaf temperature's off, whatever it may be. So you know it's really important to stay on that stuff and dialing your environment in, and also cultivar selection on top of that, to know that the genetics you're choosing can handle the workout you're about to put them through, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what people try to rush it. You know, by day, you know, they want to go ahead, let's go ahead and get this feeding done, throw it in. I'll see you in 2 or 3 days. Wait for the dry back, you know, and you know, because they transplant in too big of a pot, you know, 4 or 5 gallon pots. Unless you're growing a fucking 8-foot tree, you know, you don't need that big. You know, you really don't. Not in cocoa, anyways. You want to be able. It all comes down to control, and you can't control something that has a small root zone with a much bigger pot as opposed to a smaller pot, you know. And that's where I also feel transplanting is a huge thing, you know, the size of the medium that you're using and you're going to utilize. It's very critical when it
That
comes to
is
that.
super important. You know, a lot of people, there's so much bro science that's still prevalent, and people, and I'm not knocking anybody. I think we all need to stay teachable, honestly, myself included. You know, there's so much to learn. There's not enough time to know everything, you know. And as human beings, we don't live that long. We can only get, you know, maybe a couple hundred crops in our lives in terms of how long this takes, you know. So you know, it's just I lost what I was gonna say, but you know, it's important to make sure you're staying on top of these things. Now, in terms of since you're growing cocoa, what type of biology are you using? Like in terms of like microbes and stuff like that. Is there anything specific you use, or do you use that at all?
Mm-mm. Bro, it's literally there as I can make it. Try to. So I keep. I don't use any other supplements than the Clean Grow A and B nutrients and its booster. The extra grow, I guess it could be considered that, and I do use it when I have access to it. I talked to the guy who created it, David Dennis, I believe, based out of Texas. And if you ever looked at that information up, man, and the science behind it, it literally breaks down. It's almost like breaking down the nutrients into even smaller nutrients for faster absorption. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's maybe one of the things that I added to my arsenal in 2020, I think it was. No, I'm sorry, 2020. I started doing that at the big hemp operation I was doing. I'd only met him through one of the brokers that was there who knew him, so an older guy. We got to be really good, and we were going to be doing some before and after comparisons for him for his website and his testimonials. But again, I was halfway through him, and the fucking farmer fucked a lot of shit. I'm like, bro, you don't want to see some of these pictures, bro. You know. But
I just popped it back in my head of what the point I was going to make. In it's that a lot of people say the bigger the root, the bigger the fruit, right? And that's true to a certain extent. But when you're using too big of a pot, you're setting yourself up for disaster, because not only are you overusing your water resources, you're overusing your nutrients, and a lot of that stuff is staying in the soil and building up and causing lockout, or you can really another thing is you can really confuse your plants, because if you've got a lot of unnecessary nutrients stored in the medium and it's moving through its stages of life, it's pulling for these nutrients that it doesn't even need anymore. but you've put so much in there that it's got residual amounts. And I think a lot of times that's why we see people with their yield affected, because they've dumped so much stuff in there thinking if they give it all this stuff that the plant's going to get massive, you know. And it's like, no. In my opinion, for indoor growers, I don't really see a need for someone to use larger than a 3-gallon pot. I mean,
No,
you know, and usually by the time you get to the plant's life, that's when your soil's really active anyway, because it takes time for these processes to go down, you know. I mean, we're trying our best. We can't even do it. We're trying our best to mimic nature indoors. And that soil outside has had millions of years to develop all of these processes and make them efficient, whereas we are usually starting with, especially like with soilless mediums and cocoa and stuff, you're starting from scratch and you're putting this plant in there. So it's like, it's so important, you know, to, like you were saying, micro dosing your plants, spoon feeding them, as Harley Smith would say, you know. You just want to give your plant what it needs at the time, not overdo it. You're not overfeeding it. You don't want to make your plant gluttonous. And another thing too is really overfeeding early on is causing your plant to have this larger appetite, you know, and then it expects that level of nutrients throughout its life. And so you're just wasting water again, you're wasting nutrients, and you're wasting your time and space too. So
everything is correct way of growing this plant is so counterintuitive, it's crazy. And you know, you try to treat it like anything else that you would grow, it's just not going to work. It'll work, but you're not going to reach your full potential of the plant. You can grow the same cultivar, you know, in one system and grow it next correctly, and it's going to be a totally night and day difference in overall yield, growth rate, quality, everything else, just by doing it the right way. And again, a lot of people, you get lazy with it. I'm on my shit every fucking day. Like, I don't like, and when it's my personal stuff, I don't like being away from the farm. I don't like being away from the grow. I like living in the grow. I like, you know, being at the very least right down the road, because I want to be there every single fucking day. You know, I want to catch something, like I was mentioning. Like, if I let something go and I don't catch something for a day or 2 or 3, it's going to take me 2 or 3 days. Once I catch it on that third day and I rectify it and I fix it, I'm going to lose another 3 days for this plant to adjust itself back to where it was at before. So technically I lost not 6 days, I lost not 3 days, I lost 6 days, and that's 6 fucking years. And if you know, the growth rate that you could have gotten, like, you can get 2 to 6 inches of growth rate every fucking day when you're on your point. But if you lose 6 days, that's fucking, you know, it's almost a goddamn decade in its fucking life, you know. And so for me, it's just like, that's part of being a great grower, is like, you got to be on your shit, you got to be interested in the plant, you know. And people, they don't really do it. They want to just throw the water down and, you know, and all right, see you tomorrow.
See what happened to my shit that I left for a few days in the hands of somebody else? Maybe you didn't see. But fucking hell. Yeah,
I think it's huge too. Like, sorry, Blue Skies, my bad, bro.
I was just saying, it's everything Migz is saying is just so fucking true. And like how I said earlier, you can have plants in your house, but it doesn't make you a fucking grower. You know, some people can be 6 feet away from plants and still fuck them up, you know. As in my recent experience doing, when I was going to do a new seed run, I actually just went away from there for a matter of days, told the guy to fucking water them. A headache prevented it. And yeah, fucking just ruined. But yeah, I'm exactly the same. When I'm doing a grow, I'm there every day.
Yeah.
I'm there multiple times a day. I can't stop looking at my plants multiple times a day. You know,
Well,
that's what I'm saying. If you don't want to look at your plants once a day, you're not a grower. You're just a fucking God knows what you are, but you ain't a grower. You know, when I'm outdoors growing, I'm doing all the work myself. So I'm there at the start of the day and at the end of the day, and I'm there at the fucking middle of the day too. I literally, spend my life with the plants.
Mm-hmm. And if you're there,
I was just gonna say, especially for new people listening, because I think we do have newer growers, it can't be overstated how important planning is. Even before you pop a seed, you know, you need to know what you're gonna do when you go into flower. You know what I'm saying? You need to, before you pop a seed, you need to know what you're going to do at week 1 of veg. You need to know, you know, all the way through. You've got to have an idea in mind, because you can, you know, wing it. And I have, in times of situations where deficiencies pop up and situations happen, you've got to fix something quickly, you can do that. But as much as you possibly can, you want to avoid that. You want to know what you're doing next at all times.
Agreed. Absolutely. Super important to be on ahead of schedule for everything. You have to, because you fuck your moms up, your clones are gonna take a hit. You fuck your clones up, your veg gonna take a hit. You fuck your veg up, your goes your flower. You know, and it's definitely it does have some kind of uniformity that you have to adhere to. Journals are a huge thing to keep track of a lot of things for any of the newer guys that really want to stay on top of your shit. You can go back and look. There's so many inputs, so many ppms, ECs, everything that you're doing, and sometimes you hit the right, you know, the right inputs at the right ratios for a specific cultivar, and you fucking forget. I mean, goddamn, we're all stoners here and shit. I can't keep up with my own day of life remembering stuff, much less what I just put in this morning. So everything goes down in a journal or right up on the whiteboard. I know what I fed last week, I know what I fed the week before, and I think it's like once a week I redo the water reses. I also use a water chiller on everything. That does a huge come up as well, keeping the water chilled.
Yeah.
And but it's just one of those things that nowadays, though, it's not like where it was where you and I and Blue Sky were growing, where there's a lot of bro science, a shit ton of trial and error. Realistically, somebody with half a brain and some intelligence and the willpower to do it, you can, with the information is out there, with Bruce Bugsby, with a lot of these cultivators that are in the industry, like Wolverine Grow and Craft Cannabis, and, you know, Miami Mango, all these guys that come from the legacy market and have made a good mark in the industry and are dropping knowledge left and right. You go pay the fucking $200 to $300 on the Patreon. You know what I'm saying? DM people, ask questions, look on the YouTube, like legitimate YouTube information, like from, you know, universities and stuff. There's a shit ton of information that's coming out of Israel and those universities, because they've been doing testing of cannabis for quite a while, longer than we have. And you can hit, and I've seen it a few times on Instagram, the first grow out, second grow out ever on some of these guys. I'm like, God damn, motherfucker, you hitting 2 pounds of plant right off rip. I said, everything's looking great. Your VPDs are on point. You that's access to information and knowledge that a lot of us didn't have growing up. And it's always evolving.
Success is always going to come from a love of the plant, because if you love the plant, you're going to give it your maximum dedication. If you love the plant, you're going to have interest in how you can make it be the best it can be. And that's how you say with the money growers. The people are in it just for money. They're not checking on their plants every day, so they're losing that kind of year's growth, as it was. It's like cool that you brought that up, because I never really thought of it in those terms, you know, each day being equal to a human year. And it's a very important fucking point, and a good point, man. So if you're not giving them that attention, if you're there, you know, as I just said, my ex fucking grow partner didn't fucking look in on them for 3 or 4 days. That's 4 years he fucked up there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And it takes that basically the same amount for it to stop its confusion and get itself back on track to, you know, staying realms. And so you don't lose just that, you lose the next few days ahead of it too, for it to go back. And it's like twice the amount. And you, like I say, that growth rate is now slowed down, even maybe come to a complete halt before you start triggering its mechanism again to transpire again and to take its nutrients back up again, figure out what was going on. And it really is, like you mentioned, you got to be in that garden every single day. You think if you're on automated, my biggest issue with micro drippers, though I love them, I enjoy them. It's by far helped me, you know, get the growth rates I want. But when you're dealing with salts, you know, and nutrients and bottles and stuff like that, it's micro dripping. You got these little ass holes, you know what I'm saying? So after every run, you got to pull them out. You got to fucking soak them, wash them, get all the residue off, and start again. You don't do that, you know, in 2 or 3 days, 4 days, a week go by, you haven't checked on your shit. You just realize the one in the back corner is only one dripper's working and another dripper. And then now you're like, what the fuck, you know? And so it's important to be in there every single day. That's what I do, man. Like I check everything. Did I fuck up and accidentally hit the timer button and turn it off and not on auto? Let me just double check everything, you know? And I kind of feel it's a testament to who I am. I double and triple check every single thing.
There's limitations of scale, obviously, but given, you know, I just like hand watering as much as I can, as much as I'm physically able to. I like to hand water, and obviously it's got drawbacks, blah blah blah. But I don't give a fuck. I like being there, watering my plants. I like being around them. You know what I mean? I always like getting my hands dirty. You know what I mean? I like to be with
Oh,
the plants. I
yeah.
love outdoor growing, bro. I just love outdoor growing. I love all forms of growing. I've grown every single way possible, with the exception of aquaponics with fish. I've not done that, but I've done deep water culture. I've done all the forms of hydro. I've done soil. I've done cocoa. I've done everything over the years. But my favorite time is really outdoors. You know, obviously
Yeah.
it's cool with the input of having like being able to bring plants on a little before putting them outside, all that kind of thing. But essentially, my favorite time is being outdoors in the sun, not in the UK climate, obviously, but in a favorable climate, and just fucking hand watering my plants, even if it takes 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours at night. I like it, you know?
Yeah, and you get that connection with your plants when you're in there every single day. The watering is a whole other connection to it itself. You know, you literally
Yeah.
doing it by your hand, by the energies of your hand. And
Exactly.
man's hands have created so many things in life. There's energy in our hands to do things like that. That's where I feel like that quote unquote green thumb theory comes from. It's the energies that are either building energy or
You know that big picture I always post of the plants outdoors? I used to have, I wish I had all my content that's been lost since about 2018 for all the snitching pricks, but because I had so many cool pictures. But that one I've obviously got backed up, and but that area, that was just a small section of what I was doing. It's just, you know, what I could fit in the camera frame there. But um, that was all entirely hand watered, start to finish, entirely by me.
nice. Hell yeah. And you
One
can see
thing,
And
that.
that was
one
a
reason why
fraction
I
of it.
always stick with hand watering is because I feel like if I start getting into automated stuff, I'll get lazy, and that's when I feel like mistakes start to happen. You know, I hear a lot of people talk about when they grow hydro at scale and they forget their water reservoir filling up or whatever, and then their entire grow is filled with water, and they've got to clean that up. And it's like, I think hand watering keeps me on my toes. It keeps me on a schedule. It forces me to go in there and check. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
obviously at scale, it's not always easy to hand water 10,000
Right.
plants or whatever. But at the end of the day, for me personally, when it's like my small little craft grow, hand watering is the way to go for sure.
Yeah, and it's a schedule and situation for sure. Hand watering has its drawbacks and limitations. For me, like again, I've hand watered, up until some years ago, but what I think that if you have the right system when it comes to automation, and you have the right components that you can actually confide in and not to fuck up. Obviously, you got to stay on them anyways. For me personally, it's allowed me to focus more on the crop as opposed to having oh man, I got to water for the next
I
fucking.
agree with that aspect too, bro. I do think, like, especially on a larger scale, the
Yeah.
automation is great. But there's also just like something I really enjoy about the hand watering too, you know. I think once you're getting into like really commercial sizes, you've got to have some automation. But you know, I can probably handle, I don't know, a few hundred square meters of ground hand watering a day myself. But after that, it does get difficult, you know.
It's the
But
size too, because in 2017 I had a 75 plant count medical card in Colorado, which is the second biggest you can get in the state. I think 99 you can get, but you have to be like terminally ill or whatever. But if you're growing outdoor like myself with 75 plants, I'm not growing 2 or 3 foot plants. I'm growing fucking 10, 12 foot monsters. You know what I'm saying? And fucking 10 or 13 gallon pots. And I hand
I've
water.
done 200 plants of about, say, most of them were sort of like 8 to 10 foot, I'd say, about that height. 200 plants planted directly in the ground. I've hand watered that for a season. That's some work, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, well, it's supposed to be 75, but nobody listens. I doubled my shit. But again, you think about when you're hand watering something that big, blue sky, you're either going to be on a timer or you're going to be, okay, I know X amount. So for me, it was to get runoff because the dry backs are so fast. I would have to, in full flower mode, I was 160 plants total. It was 75. I threw an extra in there, whatever, but it was about a minute to 45 seconds of hand watering every single plant. So I got to figure a minute per plant, 100 and something minutes. You know what I'm saying? I have to do that 4 times a day at times and full thing. Like majority of the time is just doing that. Like I have to fill up a 1,000-gallon fucking reservoir all over again, wait for that thing to fill up for 45 fucking minutes. It's like the whole day is gone. You don't, hey, you're married to it. And I loved it. It was an experience. But I couldn't keep up with my deleafing. I couldn't keep up with my training. I couldn't keep up, with the IPM. And especially if it's just 1.5 people doing it, because your partner isn't
It's
going to
hard work, bro. Most people don't have that commitment and dedication to it.
No, they don't.
Even when they're automated, they don't. A lot of people,
Yeah.
You've got to really love it to do it properly.
The majority of people would absolutely make it lazy. Like, I can sit back and play PS5 for the rest of the day. I'm like, I'm not like that. Like that comes at the end of the day, or in between feedings or whatever I got to do. I'll catch up on my other things. But if I have shit I got to do in the grow first, that's without question going. I think I was just talking to R. Kelly this morning. You're like, you just rolling out of bed from a late night of harvesting. Like, bro, you married to Miss Mary, bro. I got up at 6 o'clock this morning and started fucking deleafing and shit. Like, I got to get this shit done. I got to finish transplanting later. It's just like, it's a different level and passion for, different people. I'm just glad that I've got to meet you two guys, what I'm saying, to have very similar aspects and passion with it. Thank you.
Absolutely, bro. I'm on the plant schedule now. You know what I'm saying? I try to work my schedule around their life.
Yeah, bro. But I mentioned in the last podcast, I was a dog breeder for 15 years. And so it's the same thing. You're taking care of a living energy, a living entity, so you're not taking vacations, if they got to be deleafed or you got to take them out to go shed or whatever, you got to be on it, and it's that's where my mentality comes from. I'm already accustomed to being married to something and being a way of life, and when you have fucking 20 dogs on your own property and probably another 60 or 70 in a bunch of different kennel chapters, like you got to stay on top of your shit. It's a constant thing, feeding, taking out, grooming, everything else. And same thing with the plants.
Not enough people treat them as the living entities they are. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't fuck them up if you did think of them in that way. Do you know what I mean? Because some people, it's tantamount to fucking torture and abuse how they treat their plants.
Yeah, it's almost like
for real. I'm being serious. It is in a sense. Some people, it's like treating them abusively.
And that's where I feel like the really good, passionate growers really stand out amongst the crowd, because there's so much science involved, but there's a finesse to it. There's an art form to it. And a lot of that does just come down to proper planning. But at the end of the day, you just got to have a very good understanding of what these plants need from you. And if you can't provide that, you probably either shouldn't be growing, or you should just, if you can't give them the attention they need, you need to just try and simplify it for yourself as much as you possibly can, while still giving them everything they need when they need it. So, and that's a delicate balance. It's like, at the end of the day, it's always going to require more attention than you expected. You know what I mean? So
just like a pet, right on spot. If you don't have these plants properly, they're going to suffer, and the quality, and the end of the day is going to suffer. And if that's the case, why are you even doing this first? Like I mentioned, I think in one of my posts before, like I'm in competition with myself. I feel I'm the best I've ever been able to be at this point in my life, and I intend to get better. I don't know a lot of shit, and there's so much science behind it, so much new information coming out, so many new substrate sensors, and all these things that you're trying to dial in your watering events with your P1s and P2s, and I'm just like, there's not, like you said, there's not enough time in the day to keep learning everything. Then you have your daily life, your family life, and it's just like, believe me, it becomes, my OCD kicks in, and I'm just like, oh shit, it's fucking 2 a.m. I'm still looking at fucking plants on Instagram.
exactly, dude, for sure, man. Well, this has been an amazing conversation.
Absolutely, fun time, man.
I really appreciate you sitting down with us, man. And you too, Blue Skies. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to join you. And especially starting off with Real Cannabis Talk. You've been so welcoming to me and to all of us people, and really giving us a voice and supplying us with these genetics at the same time. So it's like, I think this is a really pivotal moment in cannabis history right now. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I feel like we're taking part in a monumental movement, and I just want to keep seeing it build from here. Honestly, that's what I want, man. And I want to see how far we can take it, and I want to see what we can find, and then I want to see what we can share and give back to each other. So it's really amazing. You guys are both really awesome people, and I'm just happy to know you.
Well, it's a two-way street. You know, I love you guys and all the skunk fam. If I, didn't have your support, I'd be nowhere too. And especially as we mentioned at the start of the show, for all the opposition that I've faced, it makes the support all the more special to me. Do you know what I mean? I really appreciate it more than people probably actually realize, because when you're faced with like a ocean of cunts, basically, to have all the good skunk fam, it's just kind of heartwarming, and appreciate it. Do you know what I mean? Big time.
Yeah,
Well,
I
thank
agree
you,
too.
bro, for real, for sure. Thank you, these guys.
But thanks again for you guys again reaching out to me. I'm always open to come hang out and shoot the shit with you guys, and just anybody you guys have on has always been an interesting story and some gems that get dropped every day that just are every time out, and it makes myself a better grower and anybody else is listening. And for all the haters out there, man, don't hate, fucking congratulate, man. Get on board, you know what I'm saying? Stop all that bullshit. We're all in this shit together. Like, realistically, we can all learn from each other. But what you get put in is what you get out, and that goes a long way. And I feel a testament to you, Blue Skies, and you are also the too, man, that you guys are just genuine ass people that are really trying to just put some information and knowledge out there and give some of that back, and have a good time with it. So anything you guys want to do in the future, no matter what it is, even just to kind of hang out, bro, I'm down
Absolutely,
for it.
bro. I'd love to have you back on.
All right, guys.
100%, bro, regularly.
Well, hey, bro. So for everybody listening, you can find Migz at Jungle King 710. Migz. Blue Skies, obviously, we've said before, he's like the final boss with 40, 50 accounts at any time. But for sure, Blue Skies Vienna 4, Old Timer 1.
Yeah.
Roadkill
Blue
Skunk
Skies
2.
being the 4 through 20.
For sure.
Yeah, Blue Skies, we had a 4, Old Timer 1, Roadkill Skunk 2. I've got my email, purplegarlic@protonmail.com. There's the forum, www.skunkfam.com/community. Yeah, that's about it, I guess. Of course, there's Real Cannabis Talk. There's plenty of episodes and information on there, and the previous episodes of Skunk Fam podcast.
Absolutely. You can find me at allkillerNoFiller_ on Instagram, and my backup is fermented_frost. I'm a natural farmer, and I love helping educate people to grow this plant. And this was a really amazing cultivation conversation, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And definitely keep an eye out for Migz projects, Blue Skies projects, and mine as well. I'm doing a pretty decent size one, so
I was just thinking that, bro. I really want us just to end. I want to really see Migz like in a big operation somewhere, whether it be indoors or outdoors or both, running my genetics. That'd be awesome.
You and me both, man. So I'm putting it out there. Anybody needs some help on something, I don't give a fuck what state you're in. Give me a holler, bro. I got you.
Absolutely, man. And in the near future, man, let's do what we can to try and maybe get a facility growing for these Blue Skies genetics, man. So thanks everybody for joining us, and definitely check us out on Instagram and keep an eye out for new episodes.
Thanks, guys.
Guys.